Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. My childhood sweethearts are actually game bosses. Chapter 41. Finally, more than 50 magical beasts were all killed under the joint attack of a group of Zonjin Academy students. Except for Yi Jie, Xiao Yushi, and Chu Ruahua, who still behaved calmly, several other students still appeared a little out of breath. It seems that dealing with so many magical beasts at once is a bit of a burden on these students and consumes too much soul power. Chu Ruahua glanced at Yi Jie solemnly. I didn't expect that this little devil, at such a young age, could be so terrifying. The flesh and blood of the dead monster gradually melted into a pool of black water, leaving only the fallen demon bones. The demon bones turned into rays of light and were sucked into the space by the rings on the hands of the students who were killed. That space ring was invented by Professor Rhodes, the superpower master of the space department of the Zon College. Moreover, this kind of space ring is not for sale to the outside world and is not for sale. In the academy, it will only be given to some elite students, which is considered an honor. Every time you enter the dungeon, the ring will automatically record the kill record of each student, and automatically pick up the trophies dropped by the students after they kill. Among the people present, Yi Jie was the only one who was not a student of the inner sect. But Yi Jie raised his hand and waved. The demonic bones dropped by the demonic beasts he killed all disappeared, and they were obviously collected by him. Several other students were a little surprised. Yi Jie actually has a space ring. How can it be? In fact, Yi Jie just collected all those demon bones into his system inventory. Chu Ruahua frowned. Even the most basic space ring can only store 10 square meters of items, and it can only be obtained by students who want to enter the inner door. Could it be that Yi Jie's ring was obtained by the Yi family through some illegal means? At this time, 4 brilliant light curtains suddenly fell. The air rippled, and a few lines of text appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Congratulations on completing the first trial level. The copy of the Black Abyss Secret Realm is divided into 4 major areas. Students who have passed the trial are asked to choose the area they want to enter. 1. Wanlin Valley. 2. Jingalingta. 3. Dark Forest. 4. Well of Black Abyss. Yeji's eyes briefly glanced at the long lines of text. It turns out that it should be the power of the legendary college principal. Behind each area, there is a simple text introduction. The area of the Black Abyss Secret Realm is very large, but through these light curtains, it is convenient for students to make choices according to their own needs and be directly teleported to the vicinity of the destination, which is considered a shortcut. Chu Ruahua looked at the lines of text and thought that Wanlin Forest, Jingling Pond, and Dusk Forest were all very good places. These places were rich in resources, with many heavenly and earthly treasures, and there were even opportunities to find some lost ones. The ancient relics left by the civilizations of all ethnic groups. Only the Well of Black Abyss must not be touched. In fact, it is said that the secret realm of Black Abyss itself is the territory of a Dark Lord, which is why there are so many monsters contaminated by the blood of darkness. It is mentioned in the history books of the Empire that the secret realm of the Black Abyss was once the territory of a kingdom thousands of years ago. Later, the entire kingdom was swallowed up by the Well of the Black Abyss and buried deep into the underground abyss. This is the origin of the name, Black Abyss, origin. And the Black Abyss secret realm was ruled by that demon king. The entire territory was shrouded in demonic energy and isolated from the world. Even human extraordinary people could not enter despite the demonic aura. And the Dark Lord is said to live in the Well of Black Abyss. The little fat man turned to look at Chu Ruahua. Senior, which one are you going to choose? Chu Ruahua curled his lips. You can choose any one, just don't choose the Well of Black Abyss. If you choose there, you are courting death. Except for Xiao Yushi, several other students nodded in agreement. Chu Ruahua took out a white scroll from his arms. Although, if you encounter difficulties in the secret realm and want to give up, you can just use this scroll to be recalled to the academy by the principal. But the scroll requires startup time. Startup time is exactly 8 seconds. However, when most dangers come, there is no 8 seconds of breathing time. And standing there in a daze for 8 seconds in a dangerous situation is simply asking for death. Yi Jie looked at the 4 options and was gently stroking his chin, thinking about which area to enter to explore. At this time, the game system suddenly gave a prompt. Ding! Hidden mission has been released. Task requirements. Clear the Black Abyss Secret Realm, or survive for 3 hours. Task reward. Depends on the selected scene. Please choose. 1. Wanlin Valley. Difficulty. Level C. Adventurer mortality rate. 30%. 2. Jinglingtan. Difficulty. Level B. Adventurer mortality rate. 41%. 3. Dark Forest. Difficulty. Level C. Adventurer mortality rate. 27%. 4. Well of Black Abyss. Difficulty. S level. Adventurer mortality rate. 99.98%. Yi Jie smiled faintly. Adventurer mortality rate 99.98%. It seems that this version of human adventurers don't know much about the secret realm of the Black Abyss. The Black Abyss Secret Realm dungeon is the first low-level ancient dungeon map in the game. The high boss level and high difficulty are actually only secondary. The key is to master the skills and methods. Except for the Well of the Black Abyss, the other areas are actually not considered the Black Abyss Secret Realm at all, but are just on the periphery of the Black Abyss Secret Realm. When the server first opened, there was a chance that all players, no matter how high their level, would have to die in this picture 7 or 8 times before they could gradually figure out the rules of this picture. For example, at which stage do you need to take antidote to resist poison? When do you need to beware of your consciousness being invaded? Which monsters can attack? Which monsters you attack will be affected by illusions? Which monsters will be rebounded to death by their own power if you attack, etc. In short, it is quite complicated. In the game, masters usually have to die 7 or 8 times. In reality, the death rate is 99.98%, which is considered normal. Later, various strategy videos appeared on the internet, and the mortality rate of this map slowly dropped. As long as you master the skills, the difficulty of this picture will plummet by more than 1 level. Yi Jie was once in the top 10 of the civilian combat power list in the game. This picture of the Black Abyss Secret Realm dungeon almost made him vomit. He was extremely familiar with this picture, and coming here felt like going home. Yi Jie chose Well of Black Abyss without hesitation. The mission has been updated. Task content. Clear the Well of Black Abyss, or survive for 3 hours. Rewards. 1. Kill a Warcraft and receive 100 system points that can be exchanged for Maul points. 2. Kill a demon, reward 200 system points, and have a 10% chance of obtaining rare demon bones. 3. Kill a Berserker and be rewarded with 1000 system points. 4. If you successfully enter the Well of Black Abyss without dying, you will have a 20% chance of obtaining a pink quality treasure. 5. Survive successfully for 3 hours, and you will be rewarded with 10,000 system points and a random ancient material. 6. Defeat the final boss, the Black Abyss Demon Lord, and you will be rewarded with 50,000 system points. You will get a random pink quality ancient item, and have a 1% chance of getting a red quality ancient inheritance. Final hidden reward. 1. Destroy the entire Black Abyss Well, and you will swallow the dark power of all monsters in the entire Black Abyss Secret Realm, and randomly obtain a red quality ancient demon inheritance, and obtain the title of Demon Public Enemy. The demons will treat you. The hatred value is permanently plus 9,999. If you encounter any demonic units in the future, you will be the priority to attack. 2. Kill or conquer the escaped boss Black Abyss Demon Lord, and you will gain control of the entire Black Abyss Secret Realm territory. Although Yi Jie is an old player of the game, he was still shocked when he saw the hidden reward at the end. Control of the entire Black Abyss Secret Territory. Doesn't that mean that if it is completed, this secret realm will belong to me from now on? Is there such a hidden reward? Night Song is deep in thought. No, in the game, 10,000 races, although there is indeed a mechanism to seize territory, the Black Abyss Secret Realm is a public dungeon. There are important game plots in this dungeon. How can a public dungeon become a player? Territory. Unless, is my game system in developer mode? Yi Jie suddenly remembered a rumor on the game forum back then. At that time, the son of the penguin boss was also playing this game. In order to please the boss's son, the person in charge behind 10,000 races secretly added character luck, equipment explosion rate, and enhancement increase probability to him. Several times, hidden plots and tasks were opened for him, and a developer system was given to him, allowing him to freely establish a territory in any public area in the game. Let all NPCs be dispatched by him, and freely modify this place. All the rules allow him to have a game experience like the creator of the game. My game system, could it be this kind of system? Yi Zhe thought about it carefully and shook his head, thinking it was unlikely. This is just a rumor after all. Moreover, he has been using the system for 3 years, and except for the first 3 golds in the novice gift package, he did not feel any significant improvement in the explosion rate. Fairy Yu Shi, which area do you plan to enter to explore? Chu Ruahua looked at Xiao Yushi with a somewhat flattering smile. He took the assessment this time not just for the final result. He also wanted to take this opportunity to get closer to the people in Yuanning Palace. Yuanning Palace is the largest immortal cultivating sect in the empire. If Wanjian City wants to go to Yuanning Forest to collect high-quality immortal materials for making swords, they must obtain approval from Yuanning Palace. And Xiao Yushi is the saint of Yuanning Palace. If we can make a marriage contract with her, it will be self-evident for the development of Wanjian City in the future. And he will definitely get his father's approval and reuse. Xiao Yushi nodded slightly and raised a pair of soft apricot eyes. The girl had an air of immortality that was beyond her years. She looked at the 4 light curtains in front of her and without much hesitation, she said softly, "Well of the Black Abyss." Several other students were stunned for a moment. Chu Ruahua was stunned. Why? Why? That place has a narrow escape from death. Xiao Yushi was silent and did not answer. The little fat man whispered at this time, "Senior, I think we should walk together in the dusk forest. This place is full of dangers. It will be safer if we all walk together." Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth. He thought to himself that he and Xiao Yushi were both students in the monster class, so there wouldn't be much difference in strength. Since Xiao Yushi has the courage to enter the Well of Black Abyss, it means that she must have investigated beforehand and is sure that she can pass the level. Then there shouldn't be too much risk for me to follow her, right? Chu Ruahua said bravely. "You guys, all come with me into the Well of Black Abyss." Ah, several other students were immediately shocked. Ah, what? If you want to offend me, just choose another area. Chu Ruahua didn't care so much, he decided to drag everyone into the water. As the little fat man said, there are dangers everywhere in the Black Abyss. Even if you choose the least difficult area, you can't guarantee safety. If everyone acts together, the chances will definitely be greater. Everyone looked at each other, and one student mumbled a few times, hesitating. The Black Abyss Secret Realm is originally a very difficult Secret Realm copy. Even in several other areas, they dare not say that they can definitely pass it, let alone the Well of the Black Abyss. Although they don't want to offend Chu Ruahua, if their lives are lost, what's the point of not offending him? Please make your choice. The 4 light curtains in front of him are gradually disappearing. Without much hesitation, Xiao Yushi chose the light curtain of the Well of Black Abyss, closed her eyes, and was enveloped in a ball of white light. Several other students also chose their respective teleportation locations one after another. Chu Ruahua paused and chose to follow Xiao Yushi and choose the Well of Black Abyss. After a burst of dazzling white light disappeared. Yi Zhe, Xiao Yushi, Chu Ruahua, and the little fat man appeared near the Well of Black Abyss at the same time. Maid, these guys dared to disobey me. Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth and thought bitterly. When he was in the academy, these people basically obeyed him. Because he is a student in the monster class, while the others are just in the excellence class. Unexpectedly, they dared not listen to him this time. Yi Zhe glanced at Xiao Yushi, Chu Ruahua, and the little fat man, feeling a little surprised. In addition to himself, he didn't expect that there were 3 other people who entered the Well of Black Abyss with him. Are all the elite students who are worthy of being students so not afraid of death? Yi Zhe looked at Xiao Yushi and suddenly remembered. In the original game plot, Xiao Yushi seemed to have entered the Well of Black Abyss when he was 15 years old. It was that experience that caused her to be trapped by inner demons for life. So, I am now directly involved in the story missions of the original game. Yi Zhe crossed his arms and looked at Chu Ruahua and the little fat man next to him. No, the plot should have changed slightly. It turns out that in the plot of the game, Xiao Yushi entered the Well of Black Abyss alone, and there were no 2 people. So, his appearance caused a butterfly effect and changed part of the plot history. Senior, this place is so weird. The little fat man, who was the only one who listened to Chu Ruahua's words, shrank his neck timidly and looked at the surrounding environment. This place is different from the dense and lush aura forest just now. This place looks extremely desolate. The sky is dim and gloomy. The black earth seems to be polluted by demonic energy to show its color. There is no grass growing everywhere, and there is no life at all. Chu Ruahua looked at the devastated dark land in front of him, feeling a little uneasy in his heart, but in front of Xiao Yushi, he could only act calmly. What's so weird? We are students of the Zan Zan Academy, extraordinary warriors of the human race. In the future, on the battlefield of all races, we will see all kinds of ugly, weird, and terrifying dark races. What does this weirdness mean? Is it possible that in the future, on the battlefield of all races, we will see all kinds of ugly, weird, and terrifying dark races? Do you still want to huddle behind your commander and tremble on the clan battlefield? Let's see if your commander will blow your head off with a soul gun. The little fat man pursed his lips and refused to speak. Chu Ruahua said, "Okay, we don't have much time, let's move forward quickly." The four of them moved forward in the dungeon map together. On the dark land, there was a faint bloody fog everywhere, which made people feel that there were unspeakable strange creatures running out of it at any time, so everyone walked very carefully. Chu Ruahua glanced at Yi Jie. He didn't expect that this little devil would choose the Well of Black Abyss. But that doesn't matter now. This Well of Black Abyss is said to contain the ruins of the old civilized kingdom, but it is also surrounded by dangers and is the territory of a certain demon king. Chu Ruahua must always be vigilant. Strange, Chu Ruahua said. Where exactly is the Well of Black Abyss? Why haven't we found it after walking for so long? Clam. As soon as he finished speaking, monsters suddenly emerged from the ground and staggered towards them. Chu Ruahua's heart tightened, and she was a little nervous at first. But soon he discovered that there were only a dozen monsters emerging from the ground. And the level is lower than the monsters that I encountered just outside the secret realm, and they are only the strength of the mysterious realm. Chu Ruahua breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. I didn't expect that the monsters in the Well of Black Abyss area are actually lower level than the monsters in the periphery. I really thought it was so dangerous here. Fairy Yu Shi, you don't need to take action on this little monster. I'll take care of it. Chu Ruahua looked at the little fat man. Give me a buff. Little fat student. Oh, okay. He clasped his hands together and used the auxiliary skill. First level auxiliary skill, agility increase. As his soul power twisted and rose, a brilliant beam of light fell on Chu Ruahua. Agility plus 150. Chu Ruahua's speed suddenly increased, holding a long sword, and rushed towards the monsters. Whoosh, crack, crack, sword lights danced wildly. Monsters were killed easily by Chu Ruahua. Chu Ruahua himself is an extraordinary person with 7th level strength in the Earth realm, and he can easily deal with these monsters in the mysterious realm. After the killed monsters died, their bodies melted into blood and turned into wisps of black soul energy that wrapped around Chu Ruahua's body. But Chu Ruahua didn't realize it. Yi Jie watched the battle from the side, laughing secretly in his heart. I didn't expect such good luck. I thought that with his current strength in the Zan realm, if he were to paint this picture, he would definitely have to put in a lot of effort before meeting the big boss. I didn't expect to meet such a reckless stick NPC. Maybe it can be put to good use. The white-blooded kitten's head emerged from Yi Jie's collar. The two soft cat ears twitched, and the scarlet eyes looked around the place. Then she raised the cat's head and said, "Meow," to Yesh. Yi Jie lowered his head. You mean, this place is dangerous? You advise me not to go too deep. The little white cat nodded vigorously. As the reincarnation of the Empress of the Spirit Demon Clan, White Blood Spirit has a very good talent for perception. She could sense the smell of a powerful demon creature nearby that inherited the blood of the ancient demon clan. And there is something indescribably weird about this place. The dark red thick fog seemed to hide some kind of deadly aura. In short, it is definitely not something that Yi Jie can handle now. Yi Jie smiled. Is it dangerous? Then you've come to the right place. White Blood Spirit. Xiao Yushi watched the battle from the side and soon realized that something was wrong with this place. Those monsters kept breaking out of the ground, making chaotic and indescribable low murmurs. And the surrounding bloody fog is getting thicker and thicker. There's something not right about these monsters. Xiao Yushi pondered for a while, then slowly raised his hand, wanting to help. Sister Fairy, it's best not to attack these monsters. At this time, the sound of Yi Zhe suddenly came. Xiao Yushi was stunned for a moment and looked at Yi Zhe next to him with a puzzled expression. Those monsters kept making low murmurs, and Chu Ruahua felt a trance in his head. However, the strong will of the Earth Realm swordsman still allowed him to bear the oppression of his mental power and chop all those monsters to death. Sure enough, he has some strength. Single quote. Yi Zhe nodded. I actually passed this level in the wrong way. As expected of a student of the monster class, he does have some strength. However, Chu Ruahua's condition was obviously uncomfortable. Status: curse, poisoning, demonic corrosion, demonic resentment, mental disorder. HP continues to decrease. -26, -31, -19, -32. Affected by debuffs. Mental state -186, intelligence -2, on-the-spot judgment -98, memory -21, brain cell activity -10%. Chu Ruahua inserted his sword upside down on the ground and supported his body, feeling that his life force was constantly passing away. What the hell are those monsters? Give me a healing technique quickly. Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth and said to the little fat man. Ah, okay. The little fat man heard this and quickly cast a spell, first level auxiliary skill, treatment. A green light fell on Chu Ruahua's head. HP, +50, -25, +50, -31. Even so, it's still of no use. Once the effect of the healing spell has passed, the erosion of the demonic energy will continue to deduct blood. Chu Ruahua cursed secretly, and had no choice but to take out another bottle of intermediate life potion, raised his head and drank it. At this time, the real well of Black Abyss appeared in front of the four people. I saw the mouth of a huge abyss slowly appearing on the ground. It was an extremely large circular dark hole the size of 2 football fields. It was completely bottomless. Everything around it was being sucked in by the abyssal black hole like a pouring waterfall. Chu Ruahua's eyes widened. This thing, you call it a well? Yi Zhe has seen the well of Black Abyss many times in the CG of the game, but experiencing it in person is indeed a different experience. The bottomless well of Dark Abyss is still expanding, and its current appearance is of course still relatively small. This huge Dark Abyss once swallowed up a kingdom and city-state. The ground under your feet is like turbulent black quicksand, which is constantly being sucked into the abyss, just like the water of a river falling into a waterfall. Chu Ruahua exclaimed, fell to the ground, and was swallowed up by the well of the abyss along with the quicksand in the blink of an eye. Yi Zhe is about to be sucked in as well. He glanced at Chu Ruahua, raised his hand and flicked out a talisman with 2 fingers, and attached it to his back at lightning speed. Meow. The little civet cat was so frightened that its hair exploded. It kept pulling on Yej's chest and whining at him. It means telling him to leave quickly. It's still too late to leave now. Although she was the empress of the spirit demon clan in her previous life. But now she is just an ordinary cat. Yi Zhe smiled and reached out to stroke the cat's hair to comfort him. Don't be afraid, it's here. With that said, he jumped into the black abyss. Meow. The little kitten's face was full of despair. It's over. This guy who shovels shit must be crazy. ... I don't know how long it took. Xiao Yushi opened her eyes. Is this the underground world of the Well of Black Abyss? The girl's eyes were slightly dazed. The world in the abyss was not as chaotic and dark as she imagined. She saw the ancient kingdoms and cities of the past, the majestic and tall building walls, ancient fortresses, and monster sculptures. Above the dark red sky, black clouds and mist formed a spiral abyss vortex, from which she fell just now. Is this really underground? After Xiao Yushi took a deep breath, she stopped worrying about this matter. The territory of all races is a world filled with all kinds of extraordinary powers. On this territory, various civilizations and various magical powers are put together. Nothing is impossible. Even if there is an alien continent above the sea of clouds in the sky, it is a very common thing. The girl came here today because she had important things to do, so she couldn't stay here any longer. Hey, Sister Fairy, you ended up with me. We are really destined. A voice came. Xiao Yushi was stunned for a moment, then turned around and saw Yi Zhe. There was a white two-tailed civet lying on Yi Ji's left shoulder, and a black crow with red eyes standing on his right shoulder. The boy has a fresh and handsome face, a green baby face, and a shy and endearing smile, making it difficult for people to have a bad impression of him. Xiao Yushi looked at the boy's beautiful smile and felt very friendly. It is really difficult for people to feel defensive about such a boy. But Master also said that any creature that has anything to do with demons, whether human or other races, is the darkest and evil existence in the world, and must be eradicated no matter what. Xiao Yushi was silent for a moment, then asked with slightly parted lips, "Are you the only one? Where are the others?" Yi Jie shrugged. "It just fell, and a few of us followed the abyss whirlpool around and around. Probably they were all dropped to other places." "Well," Xiao Yushi paused again and asked, "when we were up there, why did you say that I had better not attack those monsters?" "Those monsters are actually not real entities, but undead. Undead. Even if we don't attack the undead, the well of black abyss will open. As long as we hide our aura, the undead will not be able to detect us. If we have to attack, we must use some game props to deal with the undead, such as..." Yi Jie paused for a moment when he said this, thinking that he almost forgot that Xiao Yushi was not a player, but a character in the game world. She probably didn't understand what he was talking about props. But once you attack, you will be entangled by the dark breath of the undead monsters, infected with various negative buffs, and also stained by the curse of the monsters. Once this kind of buff is stained, the hatred of all monsters in the entire black abyss well will be he attracts them. The more he kills, the more he gets, and the more he gets, the more he attracts, and this is a vicious cycle. Xiao Yushi suddenly realized, "I see. Without this boy's timely reminder, I'm afraid her current situation would be the same as Chu Ruahua's." "Well, I know, thank you for reminding me just now." Xiao Yuxi's eyes were filled with gratitude. "It doesn't matter. Didn't Sister Fairy remind me just now?" Yi Jie narrowed his eyes. "But Sister Fairy should be from Yuaning Palace, right?" "Right. Yuning Palace's attitude should be that it hates all demonized people. Why did Sister Fairy remind me just now?" Quote. Xiao Yushi didn't answer. Yi Jie smiled lightly and didn't wait for Xiao Yushi to reply. "This place is full of dangers. Sister Fairy, please be careful." After saying that, he turned and left. The girl looked at Yi Ji's back and suddenly remembered what happened in the sect a few days ago. The eldest brother killed more than a dozen demonized people in front of all the disciples of Yuanning Palace. The hot blood splashed on the white floor of the hall, making it dazzlingly red. Those demonized people have human reason and have never done anything sinful. The look in their eyes before they died is still fresh in the girl's memory. But the eldest brother said that the reason why they were polluted into demonized people was because their fate was dirty. They did despicable things in their previous lives, so they will have such bad consequences in this life, and people with pure hearts will not be eroded by demons and darkness. In the end, what is right and what is wrong? The girl shook her head. Although she is called a saint and has always been the pride of Yuaning Palace in terms of cultivation and talent, she has always been pure in heart and has never experienced any worldly things. She has not experienced any disputes even though she is in a high position. Right and wrong were all instilled in her by her elders. She couldn't think of an answer. Yi Jie walked on a long passage. On the left and right sides are sculptures of various monsters. These sculptures have different postures and ferocious faces. At first glance, they look quite artistic. It was eerily quiet everywhere, but he felt like there was an indescribable and terrifying thing secretly staring at him. Yi Jie walked straight over, looking unprepared. The monster colossi opened their eyes one by one. They watched Yi Jie walking by, the fangs at the corners of their mouths slightly curled up, revealing a ferocious sneer. "Ha ha, another human adventurer who died. On these days every year, we always have a lot of big dinners." Single quote. "This boy looks very young, his flesh and blood must be very fresh." "That's right, Gia. Brothers, I count 3 to 2, we will kill him together." Yi Jie still didn't look back, but the corner of his mouth slightly raised a smile that was not easy to detect. The monsters squatting on a row of sculptures are preparing to attack together. Unexpectedly, at this time, Yi Jie, who had reached the end of the hall, suddenly turned around. Without knowing when, His left and right hands had condensed two giant black fireballs the size of truck tires, and he raised his hands and blasted them out. 2 rows of monster statues. 2 huge black fireballs shot out of the hand, like rolling boulders, directly destroying an entire row of monster sculptures. The screams of 2 rows of monsters rang out. The monsters that were disguised as stone statues and had not returned to their physical form were very brittle, just like ordinary stones. They had no idea that Yi Jie would be so mean. He would suddenly turn around and launch a sneak attack. Despicable humans. Ah, these 20-odd stone statues were arranged in a line, and were crushed and melted into gravel powder by the 2 rolling black fireballs. Tip. Successfully kill 26 World of Warcraft and obtain 2,600 System Redemption Mall points. Yi Jie looked at the rubble on the ground and couldn't help but chuckle. Who makes you pretend to be stone statues? The crow on the shoulder asked suspiciously. Sir, how do you know these stone statues are actually monsters in disguise? Yi Jackson said, of course. I don't know how many times I have swiped this picture. Even with my eyes closed, I know where these monsters will be born. These monsters can be killed instantly in the stone statue state by clearing the screen with one move, but if they are revived, it will take a lot of effort. Guess. Yi Jie said. The spirit of disaster was confused. Guess. This works too. Okay, now let's see where Brother Ruahua is now. Yi Jie took out a positioning instrument, which was invented by his childhood sweetheart Gao Shenzhou and was very useful. I saw 2 red dots displayed on the instrument. One of the red dots is moving to another area. Chu Ruahua was walking alone in the ancient ruins city-state. It's unbelievable, it's unbelievable. Who would have thought that there would be such an incredible world and such a magnificent city-state underground in the well of Black Abyss? In many buildings here, traces of the civilization of the old kingdom city-state can still be found, but the mural patterns on many walls have become totems of the demons, and many sculptures of heroes have become sculptures of monsters. Could this be the lair of the Black Abyss Demon Lord? Chu Ruahua couldn't help but shuddered. Everything here is eerily quiet, but it also feels dangerous. If this is really the lair of the Black Abyss Demon Lord, then there must be a lot of monsters here. Chu Ruahua raised his head and looked at the majestic and magnificent hall in front of him. He didn't dare to go any further. It is said that since the entrance to the Well of Black Abyss appeared, no students from Zonjin Academy have ever passed it. Not to mention clearing the level, there are only a few people who come back alive. No matter how good the opportunity is here, no matter how many ancient secret treasures and inheritances are buried here, if you still lose your life if you can't get it, isn't that a huge loss? He is the son of the city lord of Wanjian City, the proud son of the Sword Masters Guild. He still has a great future, but he doesn't want it to be ruined just like this. Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth, took out a bundle of teleportation scrolls, and prepared to return to the academy. Senior. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded. Night Song appears. Is it you? Chu Ruahua narrowed his eyes. Why are you the only one? Where is Xiao Yushi? I don't know. Yesh shrugged. She and I met before, but then we parted ways. Chu Ruahua thought, there must be some reason why Xiao Yushi took the initiative to choose the Well of Black Abyss. But now, he doesn't know where Xiao Yuxi's people are, and it would be irrational to stay any longer. Although he wants to have a good relationship with Yuan Ningdong, he is not a fool and knows the importance. Yi Jie glanced at the scroll in Chu Ruahua's hand. Senior, are you going to give up the assessment and return to the academy? Chu Ruahua felt that it was really unlucky. It was really embarrassing for a 10-year-old kid to see him trying to escape. But it is better to be embarrassed than to lose one's life. Yes, I'm leaving. Chu Ruahua snorted. You can continue to stay here. Yi Jie tilted his head in confusion, but the hall in front seems to contain a lot of treasures. Senior, don't you want to go and take a look? I'm not interested. No, you might be interested. Chu Ruahua was confused. At this time, a hoarse and sharp strange roar sounded. More than 30 brutal and ferocious monsters slowly crawled out of the dark corners of the square, approaching them silently like a group of hyenas surrounding wild deer, and surrounded them. Hiss. Chu Ruahua took a breath of cold air. These monsters are all monsters above the ground level. Different from the previous time in the Black Abyss Forest, there were 9 people, but now, only he and Yi Jie were left. Chu Ruahua immediately drew out his long sword, looking like he was facing a formidable enemy. Yi Jie looked indifferent, as if he didn't care at all. Roar! The monsters observed the surroundings for a while, and finally all pounced on them. Second level sword skill, Wind Slash. I saw Chu Ruahua holding a long sword, swinging it very neatly, and the sound of the sword cutting through the air continued. The long sword was as sharp as autumn water, dancing with Chu Ruahua's figure, drawing bright sword lights. The sword dance was fierce, as if it was about to split the air, and monsters were killed with precision. Yi Jie stood quietly aside, his eyes following Chu Ruahua's elegant figure. The two small crows and white cat eyes on his shoulders also moved with his figure. Tisk tisk, it's really awesome, good swordsmanship. No wonder the monster class, with so many debuffs, is still so strong. However, after all, it is a monster of the earth. After killing the third monster, Chu Ruahua was already panting from exhaustion, and the wrist holding the sword was trembling slightly. The flesh and skin armor of these earthly monsters is really too hard. At this time, he noticed Yi Jie, who was standing aside as if there was no one around, as if he was watching a play. Chu Ruahua, no. Why don't these monsters attack you? Ah, Yi Jie looked around. I don't know, maybe they like you more. You. Chu Ruahua was speechless for a moment. Because he no longer cares about talking. Those monsters have besieged them again. Asshole. Chu Ruahua was inevitably injured under the siege of a group of magical beasts. He gritted his teeth and said, "Don't underestimate me, Chu Ruahua, the #1 genius in Wanjian City." Level 3 sword skill, draw the sword and slash. Chu Ruahua's eyes became sharp. He suddenly put the long sword back into the scabbard, and then pulled it out abruptly. A sharp sword sound suddenly sounded, and powerful soul energy was released from the sword body. He swung his sword forward and slashed forward. A bright sword energy instantly cut through the air, making a deafening sound. Wherever this sword energy passed, the monsters were chopped into 2 pieces, and their flesh and blood flew everywhere. Night Song 6,666,666. Chu Ruahua, Shua. With the last cry of the monsters, the more than 30 monsters were finally killed by Chu Ruahua with his sword. And Chu Ruahua also sat down on the ground, with his long sword stuck on his side, breathing heavily. The flesh and blood of those monsters turned into black air, flew into the air ethereally, and wrapped around Chu Ruahua's body silently. What kind of monsters are these? How come they didn't even drop any demon bones? Chu Ruahua felt that he had been busy for a long time in vain. Moreover, he felt that he was getting more and more debuffs. Chu Ruahua quickly took out a bottle of intermediate purification potion, raised his neck and drank it. But this purification potion doesn't seem to be able to completely eliminate these negative buffs. This place is really weird. Must leave quickly. Senior, you did a great job. Yi Jie came over at this time. Okay, now let's go to the hall together. Get lost. Who wants to go with you? Chu Ruahua stared at him fiercely. There's no one else here anyway, only him and the 10-year-old kid in front of him. He doesn't need to put on any show of grace. Chu Ruahua stood up, patted his clothes, and said with a gloomy face, "I'm leaving. If you want to die, you can go alone." As he said that, he took out his teleportation scroll. Yi Jie raised a smile and said, "Senior, you don't want anyone to know about the scandalous things you did, right?" Scandal. You should be the financial backer behind those soul crystal smugglers who were caught in Yasen City a few days ago, right? Quote ? Quote. Chu Ruahua was shocked. Yi Jie. Smuggling soul crystals is a serious crime for the Empire. Quote. What soul crystal? I don't know. Chu Ruahua looked guilty, but of course he refused to admit it. You brat, how dare you talk nonsense without evidence? Do you know who I am? Chu Ruahua made a fierce expression and wanted to threaten. I know that you are not only the son of the city lord of Wanjian City, but also a distant relative of the current emperor. Yi Jie said leisurely. After the death of the founding emperor of the Qin dynasty, the aristocratic circle of the royal family has a prominent point of, the aristocratic circle is really chaotic. The son of Marquis Panyuan was killed by you and several other aristocratic dudes. Right, it seems that Marquis Panyuan has not found the murderer yet. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Chu Ruahua's eyes widened. Yi Zhe continued to speak unhurriedly. The reason is because, together with several other aristocratic dudes, you secretly played fun games with the daughter-in-law of Marquis Panyuan, but you were accidentally discovered by the son of Marquis Panyuan. You are afraid that things will get serious, so you just keep doing nothing. Chu Ruahua opened her mouth slightly, her throat was dry and unbearable. How could you? Yi Zhe smiled and said, the Yi family's intelligence system is very powerful. In fact, it was purely because of his scandals, which were mentioned in subsequent game plots. Yi Zhe took a step forward and looked into Chu Ruahua's eyes calmly but with a sense of oppression. Senior, you don't want this matter to become a big deal, right? Quote. If His Majesty the Emperor knew about it, I feel it would be very detrimental to your family, Senior. Quote. You probably don't want to see your mother crying and kneeling in front of the Emperor to plead for you, right? Quote. So you want to continue your adventure now? Think about it. Chu Ruahua immediately changed his face, pulled the long sword from the ground without hesitation, and said with a smile, since we have come, how can we not make it to the end? Are you right? Very good. Yi Zhe nodded with satisfaction. Let's go then, please clear the way. The other side. Xiao Yushi walked among the silent city-state buildings and came to an exotic-style palace. It's really difficult to distinguish which monsters are entities and which monsters are undead. Fortunately, there was that boy's reminder. Single quote. Xiao Yushi always felt that Yi Zhe had a sense of maturity beyond his years. In him, the girl saw many things that were different from the demonized man in her impression. But now is not the time to think about that. When the girl stepped into the palace, she saw an extremely huge monster statue directly in front of the hall, and next to it were 2 rows of sculptures of humanoid monsters. They stand on 2 legs like humans, but they have the heads of demons and hold long-handled sharp weapons in their hands. Click, click. As the girl approached, the demons opened their eyes and gradually woke up. Hey, there are actually some ignorant humans here looking for death. Brothers, wake up, everyone can start eating again. Jehi. Xiao Yuxi's eyes were cold and waveless, and the thin fingers of her hands, as soft as onion roots, formed seals to gather spiritual power. The group of demons were stunned for a moment. It felt as if the spiritual energy in the surrounding air suddenly had a soul, and the flow rate became extremely fast, all of which converged towards the girl. The plain white dress floats up, and the long black hair flows like silk. Immortal magic, by Yao. Buzz. Suddenly, the girl's eyes glowed with white light, and her fingers, as white as jade, connected with the seals. A ray of light spreads out from the girl like ripples. The sky and the earth seemed to suddenly lose color, everything became as gray as paper. Ah, ouch. The desperate voices of the demons resounded throughout the hall. Kill. Chu Ruahua held a long sword and rushed into another hall. All the monsters and devils were awakened by him and surrounded him. Puff. After a fierce fight, Chu Ruahua killed all the monsters, knelt on the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. Today is really unlucky. Chu Ruahua's face was filled with bitterness. He took out a bottle of life potion and a bottle of purification potion from his body, and drank them all. Purification potion is not cheap in this 1.15 version. 1 bottle costs 5 imperial gold coins. Because there are not many types of medicines in this version, there is only one type that can bring purification effect, and the materials required are very expensive. Ordinary civilian players want to clear the level in this version, so they have to save the use of purification potions. And Chu Ruahua has already used more than a dozen bottles today. In other words, at least 50 or 60 imperial gold coins were spent by him. Roar. At this time, several more beast roars came. Dozens more monsters with ferocious faces and red eyes slowly crawled out from dark corners in all directions. Maid, what else is there? Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth and had no choice but to draw his sword and stand up again. As the saying goes, if someone is carrying a heavy load and moving forward, it means that someone must be there for you to take care of yourself. The sounds of Chu Ruahua and monsters fighting crazily could be heard from upstairs. Just listening to the roaring voice, it felt like Chu Ruahua was going crazy. Yi Jie walked around in the dungeon of the palace with a leisurely expression. I remember that there should be a treasure chest in this room. Yi Jie held a torch and shined it forward, and sure enough, an ancient black treasure box was revealed. Boom! Breaking the treasure chest into pieces with one punch, Yi Jie took out several things from inside. Black magic charcoal. This thing is a good material for strengthening weapons. It was stolen. Demon skull. A purple quality item. It's of no use, just keep it, there is no upper limit in the inventory anyway. This is a human's white fat circa. Huh. How come there is such a thing? Does the devil still collect this thing? Quote. Yi Jie quickly ransacked the entire dungeon. Yi Jie suddenly heard something deep in the dungeon. Who is there? Yi Jie looked into the dark shadows and asked coldly. Quote. No one responded, but something seemed to shrink back, like the sound of coarse clothes rubbing on the ground. Yesh squinted his eyes, took 2 steps forward, picked up the torch and shined a light from a distance. Yi Jie picked up the torch and shined it from a distance. The orange flame halo dispelled the darkness, and the dim light illuminated the iron door of a dungeon. The iron door was rusty and stained with some dark red blood. There were several dirty and thin figures inside the cell. When they saw the light, they immediately shrank back, but their backs were already white, leather walls. A pair of clear but timid eyes appeared, timidly looking at Yi Jie. Humanity. Yi Jie raised his eyebrows slightly. No, not just humans. There are also monsters, spirits, elves, orcs. It seems that they are all slaves captured by the demons. It is not unusual to see many slaves of other races in the territory of the demon race. Many dark races with demon blood have the habit of keeping other races in captivity as slaves or even as food. For example, the vampires like human blood the most, so they will keep many human races in pens like cattle and sheep. Whenever they need it, they can get it directly from the pens and pour it into a cup to taste like fine wine. Of course, there are some vampires who still prefer the traditional way of sucking blood, biting directly on the neck. Yi Jie was confused. In the original game plot, didn't he remember that there were so many prisoners held under this dungeon? Click. The mechanical sound of a revolver turning. Something cold hit the back of his head. Do not move. Suddenly a boy's voice came from behind, the tone sounded a little childish. Yi Jie's body movements suddenly stopped, and he glanced back from the corner of his eye. A yellow-skinned boy stood behind him. He looked to be about 10 years old, about the same age as him. He had 3-dimensional facial features, short wavy hair, and his appearance was the kind of child that makes people think he is skinny at first glance. He holds a T-100 high-pressure Soul revolver in his hand. The huge muzzle can almost fit a baby's fist. It is extremely powerful and can directly kill monsters at the level of the mysterious realm. Gao Shenzhou has just started working as a mechanic online. The seller publishes the work at the time. The boy grinned proudly. Hey, I caught you. Huh. Before he finished speaking, Yi Jie's body turned into a black mist and dissipated. The boy looked blank and didn't know what was going on. Soon, the black mist gathered again, and Yi Jie's figure appeared behind the yellow-skinned boy. The night singer held a shadow moon cyber blade and placed it on the boy's neck. Don't move, I've got you. Boy. Yi Jie's shadow moon blade was pressed against the boy's neck, preparing to kill him. The boy quickly exclaimed, Brother. Don't. I surrender, I am a human being. Are you human? Yi Jie wondered. Yes. The boy raised his hands. Absolutely human, 100% human genes, does not contain any demon blood. Then why did you sneak attack me? I thought you were a demon. I hate kids who don't tell the truth. Yesh raised the blade and cut the skin on his neck, and red blood flowed down. No. I'll tell you the truth. The boy cried sadly. I just want to be a bit jealous and scare you, I really have no other meaning. Yi Jie's face was expressionless. What happens after the scare? After the scare, it's time to rob, right? How can it be? The boy looked upright and said indignantly, My dad said that only bad boys rob. I never do that kind of sneaky robbery. Bang! Shadow Moon's blade cut through the package on the boy's shoulder. All kinds of magic stones and spiritual crystals suddenly poured out, scattering all over the ground. Boy. Song of the night. No wonder when he just searched it down from upstairs, he found that many treasures in the treasure hunting places were missing. It turns out they are all here. Quote. After a few seconds of silence, the boy smiled dryly and said, "What I mean is that at most I only steal things from demons. I will never attack fellow human beings. At most, I will only attack demonized people." Quote. Yesh was about to put down the straight knife, but after hearing the last sentence, he immediately raised it again, put it against his neck, narrowed his eyes and said, "You really want to frame me? Boy. A few minutes later, Yi Jie has basically figured it out. The boy's name is Song Jia. He is not a student of the War College, but a wandering adventurer. His extraordinary profession is the Soul Gunner, a branch of the Archer. He used to be a member of the Demon Hunter Guild, but was kicked out later. Yi Jie was curious. How dare you come to the Well of Black Abyss alone at such a young age? Song Jia was unconvinced. Why do you mean I'm so young, and you are the same as how old you are? I am a student of the Zan College, so naturally it is different. Hey, what's so great about the Zan College? My hometown town is in a desolate black area, surrounded by a dangerous no man's land. It has ogres as neighbors to the east, rot tribes to the south, and due west is a forest of ferocious beasts, with a demonic swamp to the north. The difficulty of surviving there is much more difficult than the missions you, the aristocratic children of the empire, accept at the Zan Academy. But you only have the strength of the 4th level of the Yellow Realm, and you dare to come to the Well of Black Abyss. Yi Jie was a little curious. In fact, at Song Jia's age, the 4th level of the Huang realm is not considered low. Most of his classmates in the ordinary class at the Zan Academy are only at the 3rd or 4th level of the Huang realm, and Song Jia obviously does not have as many cultivation resources as they do. But the problem is, this is the Well of Black Abyss, and a lot of monsters are Earth-level monsters, and the boss of the Secret Realm dungeon, the Black Abyss Demon Lord, is a Heaven-level demon. Yi Jie originally thought that his level in the Zan realm was enough to clear the map, but he didn't expect that this wandering adventurer was more courageous than him. Hey, it doesn't matter, I'm not here to kill monsters anyway. Song Jia patted the backpack he had just mended, grinned and said, I'm just here to make some money and then leave. And I'm not bragging. I don't dare to talk about anything else, just my ability to hide, track, and escape. Even those in heaven may not be as strong as me. Night songs are chanting. Your name is Song Jia. Yi Jie paused and asked, did you get kicked out of the Demon Hunter Guild because you molested the guild president's daughter? Song Jia, how do you know? Yi Jie didn't speak, thinking that indeed, he was the intelligence dealer, treasure hunter, and gun king of the Black Territory who later appeared in the Black Territory in version 2.0. You said you want to introduce me to a job. Song Jia touched his chin and looked at Yi Jie with suspicion, as if judging whether he was trustworthy. Will you include rice? Night song. Of course. Song Jia rolled his eyes. What is the job content? Let's agree in advance. I'm not good at fighting people head-on. I only like sneak attacks. Just do what you are best at. Yi Jie said. Tracking, investigating, collecting intelligence, and stealing. Song Jia was surprised. How do you know that I am good at collecting intelligence? Has it been spread that I helped the young men in Yasen City to collect information about the private lives of noble girls a few days ago? Song of the Night. Just tell me whether you want to do it or not. Song Jia rolled his eyes and said immediately, do it, of course. If I can work for the young master of the largest demonized mutant family in the empire, I will be considered half of the upper class in the future, right? After returning to the town, I can play with the kids there for a year. But, to tell you the truth, I was actually bragging just now. Song Jia shrugged. Actually, I know a little bit about petty theft. The fact that I was able to sneak in here without being discovered by those monsters is not because of how awesome my skills are. It's just because I have lived in the Black Desert town in my hometown for a long time, so I know the habits of those monsters very well. It's just a little bit of devilish spice. Yi Jie smiled. You are quite honest, a thief. Song Jia muttered in a low voice. If you are not honest, who doesn't know the name of your Yi family? What if I lied to you and you beheaded me in anger later? It would be better to just kill him, since his life is not worth a few gold coins anyway. The Yi family's reputation outside has always been that of a group of war lunatics. It is said that the people in this demonized family are all moody, dark, cold-blooded, ruthless, and violent. They are all monsters who like to eat people. What if the young master of the Yi family gets angry and sends troops to take over his hometown town? Don't worry, of course I still don't like your current abilities. Yesh said calmly, but I will train you and turn you into the best intelligence hunter. Really? Song Jia was confused. As a child who came out of a small town in the dark wilderness, this was the first time that city dwellers thought he was worthy of education. In the past, when he was in the Demon Hunter Guild, the reason why he was kicked out so simply was because the adults in the guild felt that his talent was mediocre, and it would be no shame to kick him out. This place has almost been raided, let's go. Yi Jie turned around and suddenly saw the captive slaves locked in the iron cages of the dungeon. Song Jia followed his footsteps, followed his gaze, and said with some regret, "What a pity, these people are corroded by the demonic aura here, and they probably won't survive for long. He must also become a demon. But yes, death may be a relief for them. They are really suffering here." Yi Ji's eyes were calm and he walked away without saying anything. Inside the main hall, there were corpses of dead monsters lying on the ground. Chu Ruahua was half kneeling on the ground, supporting his body. His clothes were in tatters, and the wrist holding the sword was trembling slightly. As expected of Wanjian City's #1 genius, he did a great job and actually finished the killing. Yi Jie patted his shoulder. "Let's go, I've finished searching here. The next location is the fortress in the east." "Still, continue." Chu Ruahua's eyes were filled with horror. "We have already killed more than a dozen areas. You have also plundered more than a dozen areas. Your storage ring should be almost full, right? You don't know yet, Foot. He was a 6th level transcendent of the Earth Realm, and he killed hundreds of Earth Realm monsters without hesitation despite a lot of negative buffs. Fortunately, he is from the monster class and has extraordinary talent and strength. If it had been any other ordinary extraordinary person, he would have died hundreds of times." Yi Jie, "I haven't even seen the boss, so what do these levels mean?" Chu Ruahua, "Let's go, senior, you have to start and finish everything," Yi Jie said, walking out with his hands behind his back. Song Jia glanced at Chu Ruahua quietly and felt that this guy's eyes were a bit scary. He trembled all over and quickly followed Yi Ji's footsteps. Chu Ruahua's eyes gradually turned cold, as if she wanted to eat someone. He held the long sword and stood up slowly. The soul energy explodes, and the sword intent is awe-inspiring. Boom. I have lived for more than 10 years, and this is the first time someone dares to treat me as a tool. Chu Ruahua stared at Yi Ji's back with pity, gritted her teeth, and said word by word, "You forced me." Yi Jie stopped. Of course, he had already felt the strong soul power and sword energy that Chu Ruahua burst out because of his anger. "Can you finally bear it no longer?" Yi Jie turned around and said with a smile, "Want to kill someone and silence them? You are seeking death yourself. It should be a taboo in the academy to attack classmates in a secret dungeon, right? The principal won't know," Chu Ruahua said solemnly. "Even if she knew, she wouldn't do anything to me because of you, a student from a demonized family." Even so, Chu Ruahua actually felt a little guilty. Even if the principal doesn't pursue the case, if the Yi family finds out, he will still be finished. Everyone knows the horror of the Yi family. If other nobles want to openly go to war with someone in the empire, they may have to consider face, reputation, chance of winning, economy, and all kinds of messy issues. The reason why the Yi family is called a group of lunatics by the nobles of the empire is because once they are offended, if they want to take revenge on someone, they will do whatever it takes and do not care about the consequences. They will bite each other like a pack of wolves suffering from a mad disease. Either the other party will be completely bitten to death, or else they will never let go even if they are riddled with holes. Even if they kill 1,000 enemies and suffer 800 losses, they will never regret it. No one wants to fight a madman. And to put it bluntly, although Yi Xiao is only a viscount, if the Yi family really sends out their army of dead soldiers, no one in the entire empire, except the royal family and the 4 great dukes, will be their opponent. But now is not the time to think about that. Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth and tried his best to force himself not to think about these consequences. Now he just wants to kill this fool brat in front of him. Song Jia felt the awe-inspiring killing intent on Chu Ruahua and stepped aside long ago. Yi Ji's face was calm, and after the handsome and shy little face calmed down, there was a unique calmness. It's this calm look that looks like a provocation in Chu Ruahua's eyes. Yi Ji said, "Your remaining life, soul power, physical strength, and the status of various attributes should be less than 30% of your peak." Chu Ruahua sneered, "Haha, 20% is enough to deal with you, a brat in the mysterious realm. Today I'm going to show you how terrifying the students with the monster rating from the Zan Zan Academy really are." Chu Ruahua's figure suddenly blurred, and appeared in front of Yi Ji in the next breath. The long sword in his hand stabbed Yeji's throat. "Oh my god, it's so fast." Song Jia, who was observing secretly, couldn't help but marvel. This young master already looked so weak, but he didn't expect that he would explode so quickly. Die. Chu Ruahua's eyes showed endless anger and murderous intent. Shua. A sword pierced Yi Ji's chest. But Yeji's body suddenly turned into misty black mist, and disappeared into the air along with several sharp crow calls. Chu Ruahua's eyes moved. He had already noticed Yi Ji's move when he was fighting monsters in the outer forest. Several dark crows swooped towards him. Chu Ruahua reacted quickly and swung his sword like lightning, killing all the crows that wanted to attack him. But those crows did not splash out blood, but turned into a black mist after being chopped. Chu Ruahua noticed that there was something wrong with the black mist, and took several steps back to avoid the pursuit of the black mist. It seems that black mist skills are related to his spiritual pet crow. What kind of weird ability is this? The next moment, Yi Ji's figure also appeared in the black mist. He had sharp eyes and was holding a technological cyber sword with a white blade but a faint red light. As the future successor of Wanjian City, Chu Ruahua had never seen a sword like this before. The sword body seemed to be made of some kind of nanomaterial and some kind of rare metal. The faint red light wrapped in the sword's edge didn't seem to be soul energy. The sharp edge was already piercing towards him. "Hey, you dare to get close to me." Chu Ruahua smiled. He was afraid that Yej would use this weird black mist displacement ability, coupled with the black thunder and lightning skills he used when dealing with monsters in the woods, to carry out long-range consumption strikes on him. Unexpectedly, Yi Ji did not choose to fight, but chose to get close to him directly. Fighting in close combat with a swordsman. You are asking for death. Chu Ruahua waved the long sword in his hand and collided with the strange-looking technological long sword in Night Singer. Ding! When the two swords clashed, an extremely sharp sound of metal collision sounded. The sword in Chu Ruahua's hand, studded with rare crystals, shattered like an icy lake in an instant. Chu Ruahua's pupils dilated, and at that moment he thought he was dreaming. The sword in his hand is called Ling Hua, and was forged by the best swordsmith in Wanjian City. Even among pink quality weapons, it is of the highest quality. Moreover, he also spent a lot of money to find the best weapon enhancers and enchanters in the south to strengthen and enchant this sword, which has been enhanced to plus 10 stars. How could it be shattered with just one blow? PFF'd. Guangli shattered the gorgeous sword and stabbed it into Chu Ruahua's chest. Chu Ruahua's inner lining was covered with Hansen's soft armor, but it was also pierced by a sword. In front of Guangli, it was like a thin layer of paper, and gurgling blood suddenly flowed out, splashing on the ground like spilled red wine. Wailing in pain, Chu Ruahua covered the bleeding wound, his face turned pale, and he staggered back. Yi Ji held the bleeding Guangli and walked slowly towards him step by step. Chu Ruahua finally showed panic. "No, you can't kill me. My dad is the lord of Wanjian City. I am still a student rated as a monster in the Zan Zan Academy, and the principal will not allow you to do this." Night songs fell on deaf ears. Pull it down. Although he was in a secret realm, Yej could feel that the principal had been watching every move of these students since entering the dungeon. If she really wanted to stop it, she should have stopped it long ago. Seeing that Yi Ji didn't seem to want to let him go, Chu Ruahua gritted his teeth and decided to fight to the death. Level 3 sword skill. Draw the sword and slash. Chu Ruahua held the broken sword in his hand, and an invisible sword energy actually grew from the broken gap of the broken sword. Swinging his sword, he slashed forward, and a sharp sword energy shot out of the air, slashing towards Yej. Yi Ji narrowed his eyes and did not retreat at all. Copy the sword skill, black light sword drawing and slash. He also waved a sword energy, but his sword energy was black, wrapped in a strange black light. Wherever the black light of the sword energy passed by, all the light in the surrounding air seemed to be swallowed up. The two sword energies intersected, and the black light sword energy instantly swallowed up Chu Ruahua's weak sword energy. I saw a faint black line flickering across Chu Ruahua's waist. Chu Ruahua was stunned for a few seconds. He lowered his head and saw that his upper body and lower body were being separated. He opened his mouth slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but could no longer say it. Soon, the vision and consciousness gradually blurred, and the world in front of me became blood red. Song Jia, who was hiding aside, also opened his mouth slightly, with a dumbfounded expression on his face. Mom, is this really fake? An extraordinary person from the Zan realm actually killed a big boss from the Earth realm. Yi Zhe used his soul energy to evaporate the blood stains on Guang Lijian, and then put it into the system's inventory. He leaned down and found a space storage ring from the dead Chu Ruahua. However, it cannot be opened directly. This space ring is obviously encrypted and needs to be opened with my own soul power. Let's take it back later and let Miyuki Mommy study it. Song Jia also walked over cautiously. No, did you really kill him? This guy is also the son of the Lord of Wanjian City after all. Aren't you afraid of revenge from his father? Yi Zhe smiled. Just take revenge. He really didn't believe that any nobleman in the Great Qin Empire would dare to openly challenge the Yi family. As for secretly retaliating and playing dirty tricks, he was even less worried. Are there many dirty tricks that the Yi family has been secretly suppressed by other forces in the empire? Let's go, Yi Zhe said. Almost all the mobs in this city have been cleared. It's time to fight the boss. Inside a dark red ornate black abyss palace, a huge humanoid demon creature with a height of 3 meters sat on the throne of the palace, with a strange and evil face. The dark red blood-like light and shadow outside the house fell in, reflecting his terrifying demon face. He is the lord of this copy of the Black Abyss secret realm, the Black Abyss Demon Lord. I didn't expect that there would be human adventurers who dared to break into my domain, and even kill so many of my demon warriors. The Black Abyss Demon Lord's voice was hoarse and full of majesty. I really don't know whether to live or die. At this time, I saw a spiritual wind blowing, and a handsome man in white clothes appeared in his hall. It's actually a human being. And looking at the ancient clothes and the misty aura surrounding him, he seems to be a professional cultivator of immortality. It's you. The Dark Abyss Demon Lord lowered his dark red eyes and snorted coldly. Why are you here again? The man in flowing white clothes smiled. Of course I'm sending you, new goods, to Demon Lord. As he spoke, he raised his hand and waved. A group of human children wrapped in rope nets appeared in the main hall. There were about 30 children in the large net. They were young and tender-looking. Most of them were 7 or 8 years old. They were both boys and girls. Seeing the terrifying appearance of the Demon Lord, the pale and tender faces of each one showed fear expression. They were extremely frightened, their petite bodies trembling like chaff, but they couldn't cry at all, because Li Yiji had used spiritual power to seal their terror glands and voice points before he came. The Black Abyss Demon Lord took a look and smiled with interest. Oh, you seem to be more anxious than me. Probably no one would have thought that Li Yiji, who was showered with flowers and love in the human world and was known as the immortal hero, would actually cooperate with me, a demon race, in order to improve his own realm. He would even risk harm. Kill your own compatriots, ha 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 ha. Li Yiji held one hand behind his back, his face not red, his heart not beating, and he said calmly, these children are just ordinary people without extraordinary talents. Their lives will eventually be ordinary, mediocre, and tormented by birth, old age, illness, and death. Their existence will not bring any value to the future of the human race or the empire. But if they become the steps for me to break through the apocalypse in the future, then their value will not only increase 100 times, but they should feel honored for their sacrifice. Ha 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 ha. The Black Abyss Demon Lord burst into laughter with a hoarse voice. But haven't you Yuaning Palace received all the tributes from the people of Li and claimed to fight for them? You humans really do, it's still hypocritical. They are obviously more unscrupulous than our dark race, but they insist on saying those high-sounding words. Li Yiji smiled lightly without any shame. People are inherently hypocritical. I just made the same mistake that all humans make. HMPH. The Black Abyss Demon Lord sneered at him. The devil's seed hasn't sprouted yet, and I haven't found a way to make it sprout yet. But these people you sent should be able to maintain the seed's nutrition for a week temporarily. During this period, some essence should be produced. I will leave a bottle for you. Li Yiji nodded lightly. I will come again in a week. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to walk away. Elder brother, it is indeed you. A cold voice sounded at this time. Li Yiji stopped and turned around to see a girl in a plain white dress with an ethereal air of fairy walking out. Xiao Yushi appeared silently. The girl's face was expressionless, but she only felt that her mood was very complicated. A month ago, she discovered that her senior brother was behaving abnormally and seemed to have an affair with the demon race, but she never had any evidence. Unexpectedly, her elder brother, who had always been upright, gentle and handsome, and whom she had regarded as a role model since childhood, turned out to be such a despicable and shameless villain. Li Yiji frowned slightly. The Black Abyss Demon Lord's face changed slightly, showing an expression as if he were watching a play, and said with interest, "Oh. It seems that your behavior was discovered by your junior sister." Li Yiji let out a deep breath and shook his head. I made a mistake. It seems that I wasn't careful enough before. The Black Abyss Demon Lord looked at him. What are you going to do now? Kill him. She can't die, otherwise the sect will be in big trouble, and Master and she will also get to the bottom of it. Li Yiji said in a cold voice, and a fairy sword slowly condensed in his hand. It's okay, you don't need to worry about it, let me do it. Deal with her, and then I'll erase her memory so she won't mess with us. Xiao Yuxi's heart sank. She had never thought that the senior brother in her impression would say such a thing. The person in front of me seemed to have become a complete stranger. Or is it that she has never really known her senior brother before? Okay, then I'll just watch the show from the side. The Black Abyss Demon Lord put his hand on his chin and happily leaned his elbow on the armrest of the throne. Junior sister. Li Yiji held the fairy sword and walked slowly towards Xiao Yushi with a cold voice. If you are obedient as before, nothing will happen. Xiao Yuxi's cold eyes were as clear as lake water. Her facial expression did not change at all, but the girl's heart was already torn apart. The girl thought again of Yi Jie who had helped her just now. Then she looked at the cold man in front of her, who was walking towards her with an indifferent face. A boy with demon blood would take the initiative to help her. But in front of her, the senior brother who had watched her grow up, who was like a biological brother, and who had always been regarded as a righteous immortal, wanted to erase her memory. The concept of good and evil was blurred in her heart again. Boom! The girl burst out in silence, her eyes bloomed with bright white light, the majestic spiritual energy was swirling around her like a storm, and her plain white dress floated up. 9th level of Earth Realm. Li Yiji's eyes darkened. She is indeed Master's favorite and favorite saint. At such an age, he is already about to break through to the heavenly realm. This kind of talent has probably never appeared in human history for tens of millions of years. It seems that you are unwilling to listen to senior brother, so don't blame me for being rude. Li Yiji did not dare to neglect, and exploded with the strength of the 5th level of Heaven Realm, and swung his sword sharply forward. The two of them fought fiercely in the main hall, showing no mercy to anyone, and used all kinds of magical moves to attack them. The Black Abyss Demon Lord has a completely fun-loving attitude, sitting on the High Demon Lord's throne to watch this good show. Humanity's internal fighting. Haha, it's really interesting. You've already started a group here. At this time, a slightly childish voice suddenly sounded. Yi Jie walked into the hall, with a small body and 2 small pets standing on his shoulders. His shy and handsome appearance made him look harmless. Chapter 51. College. In the principal's office. Lan Mi sat on the principal's throne, leaning against his body in a lazy posture, his jade white elbow leaning on the armrest, and a finger touching his chin. A large magic mirror in front of him was showing everything that happened in the secret realm of the Black Abyss. I didn't expect that Yuaning Palace, which has always been known as a prestigious and upright family, would actually have a scum like Li Yiji. Although Lan Mi said this, there was no angry expression on his face at all. Instead, he grinned with a look of gloating. If that woman Lang Yuaning knew that her good apprentice had done such a thing, I don't know what her expression would be. How exciting, Ha 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 ha. Oh, what should I do? I really want to see it now. Mediterranean old man. But, principal. The old Mediterranean man stood in front of the desk and couldn't help but said, is this really okay? Chu Ruahua is now dead in the Secret Realm copy, over there in Wanjian City. Lan Mi waved his hand nonchalantly. Oh, isn't it normal for someone to die in a secret realm? I have already said that, unless there is an extremely special accident in the secret realm, such as the secret realm collapses or something like that. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, even if they are all dead inside, I will not intervene. It can only be said that they are incompetent. If you think about it in the future, there will be people who will do it on the battlefield of all races. Help them, but, shut up. Quote. Okay Daihai, don't be so verbose all the time. You are obviously only over 200 years old, why do you always act like those old men who have been cultivating immortals for more than 1,000 years? No wonder you are bald at such a young age. Earthsea. Okay, I won't tell you any more, I want to watch the boss battle. Lan Mi rubbed her hands like a little girl, full of expectation. I didn't expect that this Xiao Yesh could actually walk in front of the Lord of the Black Abyss. I hope he doesn't die even if he can't beat him, otherwise it would be a shame. Di Hai opened his mouth, wondering what the principal meant. If Yi Jie was not dead, would he really want to summon him into the inner gate? But, it should be unlikely. Yeji's level is only in the Zan realm. It is already remarkable that a transcendent in the mysterious realm can reach this point. But facing the boss in the heaven realm, it can be said that there is no possibility of survival. There is a big difference between two levels, and the difference in strength between the two is really huge. That is an unbridgeable gap. Moreover, the Black Abyss Demon Lord is still at the 9th stage of the Heaven Realm. He is only one step away from breaking through to the 100 Soul Realm. Earthsea actually felt a little regretful in his heart. After all, he is such a talented child. It's a pity that it would be fine if he wasn't a demonized mutant. Xiao Yushi didn't expect that Yi Jie would come here. What a mess. Originally, she thought that Yej would just wander around the secret realm and get some benefits before going back. Zhang, Li Yi's sword struck, and the spirit of the fairy was wrapped in the sword's intention, making it extremely lethal. Xiao Yushi quickly retreated and used immortal magic to form a barrier to resist. What, is he your friend? How dare you be distracted at this time? Li Yiji said, you can't protect yourself now. Xiao Yushi didn't respond, and resisted with a slight frown on her slender eyebrows. The Dark Abyss Demon Lord looked at Yi Jie, who appeared at the gate with his dark red eyes like lava, with a bit of curiosity on his face. I didn't expect that the human adventurer who broke into my territory turned out to be such a little furry kid. Yi Jie raised his little head and looked at the huge Black Abyss Demon Lord. Well, you are indeed uglier than in the game. Quote. The Black Abyss Demon Lord was silent for a moment. What did you say? He couldn't understand Yi Ji's first words, but he understood what he meant behind them. Boy, do you know who you are talking to right now? The hoarse voice of the Black Abyss Demon Lord became thicker, and he could faintly feel his sullen mood. Obviously, he could not accept that a boy dared to be so disrespectful to him. Yi Jie smiled lightly. Of course I know. 300 years ago in the Nightmare Battle, you were defeated by Baron Didak of the Nightmare Clan at that time. You originally had the strength of the Vientiane realm, but now you only have the magic power of the Heaven realm. Later, you relied on the demon realm you found. The seeds of the tree created the well of the Black Abyss in this place, turning this place into your Black Abyss realm, calling yourself the Black Abyss Demon Lord, am I right, Kamrul? The Black Abyss Demon Lord's eyes widened. How do you know my real name? Yi Jie slowly raised his right hand and whispered playfully, for a dying person, this doesn't seem to be important anymore. After saying that, he suddenly raised his palm and took action. A huge black flame roared out. This huge black fireball gradually grew in size as it flew out, and eventually it was almost as big as the head of a small truck. It was several times larger than the black fireball that had been used to deal with those monsters outside the forest. Boom! The black fireball exploded on the throne of the Black Abyss Demon Lord. The hot flames spread due to the explosion, forming a blazing black fire curtain. Xiao Yushi opened her mouth slightly when she saw this scene. Not only her, but also Li Yiji's attention was attracted and he was stunned. because the movement of this move is really too big. When Yi Jie originally appeared, Li Yiji still felt very funny in his heart. An extraordinary person at the 3rd level of the mysterious realm dares to challenge a demon lord who is at the 9th level of the heavenly realm. Simply young and ignorant. It wasn't until the black fireball was launched from the Night Singer that his eyes widened. Could this be a fireball that can be condensed from the mysterious realm? And is this some kind of variant of fireball? Why is the flame black? Roar. In the curtain of black flames, the violent roar of the Black Abyss Demon Lord was heard. Call. I saw a huge humanoid figure breaking through the fire curtain and rushing towards Yi Jie. Yi Jie, however, seemed to have expected it, and stepped aside one step ahead. Boom. The Black Abyss Demon Lord punched down, and the floor of the hall suddenly cracked, the earth trembled, the whole screen tilted, and a long crack spread quickly on the ground. Countless rubble flew up around Yej. But Yi Jie didn't move at all, his eyes were calm and clear. Dare to ignore me. The roar of the Black Abyss Demon Lord made his eardrums tremble. He thought that Yi Jie just happened to dodge one of his moves, and immediately swung his huge arm to sweep over. The 10-year-old Yej is only less than 1.5 meters tall, while the Black Abyss Demon Lord is more than 3 meters tall in his regular form. He looks like a giant in front of him. Call. The Black Abyss Demon Lord swept his arm, and the surrounding air vibrated and flowed because of the magic power of his heavenly realm. Yi Jie's body turned into black mist the moment he was hit, and the next moment he appeared again 10 meters away. Then another giant black fireball hit him. The roiling heat wave swept across, and the fire wave roared. The Black Abyss Demon Lord believes that the mutant black fireball used by Yi Jie has at least Earth-level power. Moreover, this little guy sings so fast when casting spells, which is really outrageous. After all, the Black Abyss Demon Lord was in the heaven realm and did not suffer much damage from the black fireball, but he was still hit by the fireball and took 2 steps back. As soon as the retreating heels hit the ground, the 3rd giant black fireball followed. Black Abyss Demon Lord. No. What the hell is your singing speed? Yi Jie seemed to have read through the thoughts of the Black Abyss Demon Lord, singing. Who can sing? Normally, after a magician performs a fireball spell, it will take a certain amount of time to adjust the elemental disturbance in the body, and wait for the fire element to stabilize before it can be mobilized again. In terms of the game, it is a skill CD. And the Black Abyss Demon Lord finally discovered it. The night song is not that the chanting speed is fast, but that there is no chanting at all. There's not even a skill CD. In just 10 seconds. Yej continued to move backwards, deftly avoiding the attacks of the Black Abyss Demon Lord, and at the same time launched a dozen dark fireballs in succession. Really treat the fireball as a flat ace. At the entrance of the boss hall, Songjia secretly lay here, revealing his head to observe secretly. The noise of the battle between Black Abyss Demon Lord and Yi Jie was really too loud. It was even more exaggerated than the battle between Xiao Yushi and Li Yiji. In the originally majestic and gorgeous hall, several ravines quickly opened on the ground, several stone pillars collapsed one after another, and shocking cracks in the ground soon spread to Songjia's feet. Songjia was startled and jumped away quickly to avoid falling into the crack in the ground. This is too outrageous, Songjia thought to himself. Is this new financial boss he recognized really just an extraordinary person in the Zan realm? While Yi Jie was fighting, he had time to look back and glance at Songjia, who was peeking at the gate. He tapped the Bluetooth headset in his ear and said, "What show are you still watching here? You forgot what I told you. What happened?" When Songjia heard this, he came back to his senses and said, "Oh. Don't worry, boss, I'll do it right away." After saying that, he turned around and ran away. Boom. The Black Abyss Demon Lord clasped his fists with both hands, raised them above his head, and smashed them down hard on Yej's small body. But Yej looked very casual and ducked to the side, easily avoiding his attack. The Black Abyss Demon Lord was almost going crazy. A little closer. Why is it so close every time? Why does this kid feel like he knows exactly what I'm going to do every time? Yi Jie slightly raised the corner of his mouth into a smile. He has gone through the Black Abyss dungeon too many times, and he can dodge many skills even with his eyes closed. Even if it's just a fart, he knows what this boss wants to do. Yi Jie still remembers that the game video guide he released on the internet, civilian players only rely on fireball and scraping techniques to clear the Black Abyss dungeon without damage, received a full 18 million views on the X site. As soon as the video came out, not only the players on the internet were dumbfounded, but even the game planners were dumbfounded. They originally launched this extremely difficult ancient dungeon just to allow more players to spend money to buy equipment, improve their combat effectiveness, and make a lot of money. But the planner couldn't imagine that someone could be so crazy and crazy. Today I will let you know the value of being the #1 backboard madman in the national server of the 10,000 races territory, the first civilian player in the world to clear the Well of Black Abyss dungeon, and the only civilian player in the top 10 of the world server PK list. Boom! Another black fireball hit the Black Abyss Demon Lord on the chin. Human, little ghost, I'm going to eat you alive. The Black Abyss Demon Lord was completely crazy. His body suddenly jumped up high, and then fell down quickly. Yi Jie was calm and composed, motionless as a mountain, and the backboard information from previous levels kept appearing in his mind. The boss is not very fast in his first form. Even a character in the mysterious realm can barely dodge his moves as long as he sees his moves clearly and raises his hands, but be careful of the splash damage from his demonic energy. Single quote. Boom! The Black Abyss Demon Lord hit the ground hard, splashing countless gravel. Yi Jie tapped her toes lightly and suddenly retreated gracefully. After the boss uses the high-altitude sudden fall skill, there will be a 3-second delay period. During this time, the player can output at will. Single quote. While retreating, Yi Jie raised his palm and quickly pushed out the black fireball. In 3 seconds, Yej instantly fired 3 black fireballs. All 3 black fireballs hit the vital part of the Black Abyss Demon Lord's head. The Black Abyss Demon Lord staggered back 2 steps and then slowed down. He felt that Yi Jie was completely teasing him. Hateful. The Demon Lord of the Black Abyss was furious, but faced with Yi Jie, who was like a prophet of uncertainty, he could not catch him no matter what. He was like a ferocious and strong beast, but he was helpless by a little fly. Yi Jie. The boss will raise his right hand and release a blast of demonic energy forward. For low-level players, this move is the most difficult to avoid and requires very skilled skills. Single quote. The boss leans forward, which means he wants to accumulate power. At this time, he can use the fireball technique to attack his forehead, which can easily interrupt his action of accumulating power. Single quote. The boss's jumping attack is very fast, with an attack angle of 46 degrees. You have to stand 10 meters in front of the boss and dodge 2 steps to the left to avoid the attack. His attack should be 5 centimeters away from you. When you find an opportunity to prepare to attack, it is best to stand at 97 degrees to the left of the boss, because this position is the blind spot of the boss's vision. His reaction to attacks from this position will be slower than other normal attacks. Around 35%. Single quote, single quote. Xiao Yushi and Li Yiji had completely stopped fighting at this time. Because the main hall is almost collapsing. The ground shook as if it was experiencing a magnitude 7 earthquake. The two of them looked at the scene in the hall in disbelief. Li Yiji's face was full of astonishment. He felt that he must be dreaming. What happened to this world? A transcendent person from the mysterious realm fought a back and forth with a demon from the heavenly realm. No, it shouldn't be said that it has come and gone. From the beginning, the Black Abyss Demon Lord never encountered Night Song at all. If the two people were of the same level, the Black Abyss Demon Lord would have been killed long ago. It's like a mad bull being teased in a bullring. Boom. Finally, after the load-bearing beams of the main hall collapsed due to the fireball technique, the entire Demon King's main hall finally couldn't hold on any longer. Just heard a loud noise. The beams cracked, fine dust and sand fell like rain, and the roof of the entire hall suddenly collapsed. The magnificent and majestic Demon Lord's hall finally collapsed. In the underground passage of the main hall, Song Jia held on to the wall of the passage. The violent shaking of the ground made him dizzy, and he staggered a few times and almost fell down. Ward God, what happened up here? Song Jia was secretly speechless. He has already arranged several talismans here according to what Yi Jie told him. Although he didn't know what Yi Jie wanted him to do when he asked him to arrange these things here. Oh my God, I'd better run away quickly. Otherwise I will definitely die here. In the dungeon, a group of children with dirty clothes huddled in the corner of the cage, looking in horror at the expanding cracks in the ceiling above their heads, as well as the debris and dust that continued to fall from it. 8-year-old Arthur didn't know what happened. He could only close his eyes tightly and hug his 7-year-old sister with his small body and arms. "Brother, I'm afraid," Yeezy said in a weak voice. "No. It's okay, I will protect you," Arthur said, even though his own body was trembling. Boom. The ground finally collapsed completely. The children screamed. Fortunately, the iron cage where they were imprisoned was very strong. Even if the roof collapsed, the iron cage did not deform. This was originally intended to prevent them from escaping, but now it saved them. Arthur struggled to open his eyes in the smoke and dust. The dust particles in the air made him choke several times, and the falling gravel scratched his head and bled, but he still managed to see in the blur of smoke and dust. 2 figures. One is the Black Abyss Demon King, who is more than 3 meters tall, completely black, and terrifying. There was another one who turned out to be a little human boy not much older than him. The ceiling of the dungeon collapsed just now because the Black Abyss Demon Lord was completely driven crazy by Yi Jie, and he jumped into the air and landed on the ground, causing the floor of the palace to collapse. The palace collapsed, and the ground collapsed with it. Yi Jie and the boss fell into the dungeon together. Yi Jie raised his head and looked at the Black Abyss Demon Lord in front of him. "Are you so impatient? You demolished your own house just to kill me, a mere member of the mysterious realm." Boom. Faced with Yi Jie's provocation, the Black Abyss Demon Lord became more and more aggressive in his attacks. "Stinky little ghost, you don't be satisfied." The deafening magic sound echoed in the space. His belly suddenly opened, and a terrifying mouth with big teeth appeared there. After the short-term magic power was accumulated and condensed there, a chaotic magic power impact came towards Yi Jie. But Yesh had already judged the trajectory of his attack when the big-mouthed chaos cannon was charging up, and jumped up to dodge it. Boom. The magic shock wave swept over and hit the underground prison where the children were imprisoned. Arthur was startled and quickly laid down with Yi Jie in his arms. The upper part of the iron prison was destroyed in an instant by the sweeping magic attack, and the iron cage was also dissolved by the magic power in an instant, as fragile as paper. Yesh glanced out of the corner of his eye, and at this time he also saw the captive children in the dungeon. "I didn't expect that prisoners of all races were imprisoned underground here. How many foreign slaves has this guy captured?" Boom. The big mouth on the belly of the Black Abyss Demon Lord once again released streaks of demonic energy that swept across. But no matter how many times he releases it, Yi Jie seems to be able to easily and skillfully avoid it every time, and at the right time, he can always seize the boss's backswing gap when casting spells, respond to it with black fireballs, and constantly attack it. Consuming blows. Arthur's clear pupils reflected the battle between Yi Jie and the Black Abyss Demon Lord. He and Yi Jie both came from a remote and barren village on the border of the Empire, where there were very few extraordinary beings and few adventurers coming and going. A wandering magician who could condense a small flame was almost nothing in the eyes of children like them. The most superior existence, because the adults in the village who often scold them are afraid of these wandering magicians. Therefore, in Arthur's impression, it is absolutely impossible for humans to defeat monsters, just as it is natural that rabbits are destined to be hunted by wild beasts. The most vivid memories of their childhood were scenes of humans fleeing in panic under the invasion and plunder of various dark races. At this time, the scene of the battle between Yi Jie and the Black Abyss Demon Lord undoubtedly had a great impact on Arthur's young cognition. Can humans can actually fight against demons? Boom, boom, bang, rumble, rumble. In the college office, Lan Mi and Dai Hai looked at the picture in the magic mirror. Dai Hai was completely shocked, never expecting that Yi Jie could actually fight the Black Abyss Lord to such an extent. However, Lan Mi's face no longer looked surprised. She was just curious, what kind of skill was the black fireball technique used by Yi Jie? Is it his modified fireball magic? Lan Mi herself is the best magician in the Empire, but she has never seen this kind of black fireball with dark attributes. No, let alone seen it, it has never even been mentioned in ancient magic books. Similar spells have been recorded. If this is really Yeji's own improvement, does this child still have the talent to become a magic inventor? Xiao Yushi and Li Yiji had already used their magic to escape the moment the Demon Lord's palace collapsed. Xiao Yushi flew in the air, looking at the ruins of the palace below, a little worried about Yiji's situation. The palace has collapsed for so long, why hasn't Yiji come out yet? Shua, a sword shot suddenly struck. Xiao Yushi came to her senses. The sword pill passed by her and cut through the wide white sleeve of her arm. On the white arm, bright red blood suddenly flowed out. Li Yiji said scornfully, "Junior sister, you are already in trouble, why are you still caring about that little devil? I will not show mercy to you." He waved the fairy sword in his hand, recited the sword secret in his mouth, and made a seal with 2 fingers of his other hand. The 3 sword shadows turned into 3 sky-piercing rainbows, shooting straight at Xiao Yushi. Xiao Yuxi's cold eyes flashed with cold light, and she waved her plain white sleeves, shattering all 3 flying sword shadows. "What?" Li Yiji's expression suddenly changed. "Brother, you are hopeless." Xiao Yuxi's voice became extremely indifferent, and revealed a holy and ethereal air. A white halo surrounded her, and the light was pure and flawless, washing away all dust and darkness like holy water. Xiao Yuxi's figure gradually blurred in the light, as if blending with the heaven and earth. Her long hair was fluttering, her clothes were fluttering like a fairy, and her eyes gradually became firm and deep, as if she was a goddess who could see through all the illusions in the world. "You." Li Yiji wanted to say something, but it was too late. The bright white light instantly enveloped his body. Li Yiji only felt that his body was being torn apart bit by bit. Being swallowed by that white light is as painful as being torn apart by 5 horses. Ah. Quote. Quote. After half a cup of tea, the white light gradually dissipated, and Xiao Yuxi's figure gradually became clear. No one heard her sigh. Boom! There was a sudden loud explosion above the ruins on the ground. Yi Zhe and the Black Abyss Demon Lord finally broke out of the ruins one after another, escaped from the dungeon, and came to the ground. The Black Abyss Demon Lord has entered the second form of boss. In his second form, his body became even larger and his height increased by 2 meters again. His dark body surface looked like torn muscles. His originally rock-like skin and muscles now became as dark as obsidian. The crystal-skinned body, the toothy mouth on the belly grew even bigger, and the evil energy as dark as black smoke continued to flow out of it, making the whole thing look even more cruel and terrifying. Yi Zhe smiled, finally reached the second stage. In the second stage, the Black Abyss Demon Lord will increase in size, speed, strength, agility, and burst. Moreover, the CD time of releasing the magic energy impact will be reduced by 70%, and the recovery speed of HP and MP will be increased by 80%. It is basically an infinite state of firepower. However, the weaknesses of the Black Abyss Demon Lord in the second stage are also obvious. In the first stage, players are completely unable to get close. The boss's magic power will form very fatal energy radiation damage around the body surface. Even a character in the 100-soul realm is looking for death if he gets close in the first stage. But in the second stage, the boss will mobilize all his magic power to attack, which means giving up defense. This is what Yi Zhe has been waiting for. It is a pity that entering the second stage early is the worst decision you have made. Yi Zhe said, because you don't even have a chance to enter the third stage. Demon Lord of the Black Abyss, let's see how long you can talk nonsense. Boom! The ferocious mouth on his belly once again sprayed out magical energy. In the second stage, the diameter of his magic impact is twice as large as the original, and the power is much greater than in the first stage. It is even more difficult to dodge. But Yi Zhe did not retreat but advanced. Instead, he took advantage of the gap between boss's spray and faced him head-on. What does he want to do? Xiao Yushi felt nervous when she saw Yi Zhe's move. Yi Zhe concentrated his attention and relied on flexible movement to nimbly dodge the sweep of the magical impact. He knows very well that if he is hit by this move, even if he is rubbed, for a character in the Zon realm like him, it will be an absolute instant kill. There is no second possibility at all. But this is indeed the best time to defeat this boss in one go, so it's worth the risk. The timing of this attack is difficult to grasp. Even if the average player knows how to dodge, it is impossible to do it without practicing hundreds or thousands of times. In the game guide video of Yi Ji's previous life, this section was also explained in great detail. However, other players' comments below were, "He really wants to teach me." Shua. Yi Ji was very fast, dodging the infinite magic power jet attacks from the Black Abyss Demon Lord again and again, and the next moment he was in front of his huge body. Doomsday Curse. A large amount of strange black mist surged out around Yeji's body. Countless red-eyed crows emerged from the black mist, emitted sharp bird calls, and swooped towards the Black Abyss Demon Lord. When the Black Abyss Demon Lord saw those little crows flying towards them, he didn't take them seriously at first. With a wave of his hand, the crows turned into ethereal black mist and fluttering black feathers. But the next moment, the Black Abyss Demon Lord felt something was not right. The strange black mist lingered around him, as if it could penetrate into his body as hard as black steel. Immediately afterwards, the Black Abyss Demon Lord felt that something was not right with his body. Skill. Doomsday Curse. Effect. Within a certain period of time, the special effects of silence, confusion, vulnerability, and dark burning will be applied to it. The target will enter a forbidden state, unable to use any skills, and cannot trigger life and magic recovery. All positive buff effects will be invalid. All damage received is increased by 50%, mental power is -500, and health continues to be lost at 300 points per second. The duration of this skill is determined by the opponent's strength. The Black Abyss Demon Lord's eyes widened. He found that he couldn't use his magic power. The demonic energy in the body seems to be sealed and cannot be mobilized at all. That feeling, just like being constipated. No matter how hard the Black Abyss Demon Lord tries to open up the big mouth of his belly, all that comes out is farts, and he is unable to condense a powerful energy impact. What on earth is it? It's time to finish. Yi Ji jumped above the boss's head. Originally, in the game guide, he only used the fireball technique, and he was a civilian character with no equipment, skills, or talents, so he could only use the scraping method to slowly grind through the third and fourth stages. It takes me hours to complete the level. But now Yi Ji is not a civilian character dressed in blue. I saw Yi Ji falling from a high altitude, and two weapons surrounded by pink halos suddenly appeared in his hands. A handful of shadow moon. A handful of light. Shua. Yi Ji fell behind the Black Abyss Demon Lord, crossed his swords with both hands and slashed. Two flashes of light flashed, and the Black Abyss Demon Lord's hard skin was cut open twice. The attack hits, and 10% of the target's HP has been drained. The attack hits, and 10% of the target's MP value has been drained. The two swords crossed each other and slashed, and the Doomsday Curse vulnerable effect was added, which directly wiped out more than 33% of the boss's health. Roar. The Black Abyss Demon Lord roared in pain. He didn't understand why the vitality and magic power in his body seemed to have been drained away in an instant even though they were just two tiny wounds. He stumbled forward a few times and fell to the ground. Xiao Yushi was flying in the sky, and her pair of apricot eyes, which had always been cold and calm, could not help but have ripples at this time, and her pupils were full of surprise. Every attack, every move, and every move Yi Ji makes looks so dangerous. Xiao Yushi felt that even she would not dare to use this fighting method of playing with fire on the cliff. It was like watching someone dance on a tightrope. It felt shaky every time, but the final result was different every time. Just right. Yi Ji is like a mathematician. In his eyes, all the boss's attacks are like regular mathematical formulas. Every attack seems to have data displayed, and the range of every attack is calculated by him accurately. What Xiao Yushi didn't understand even more was how he, as a transcendent in the mysterious realm, chopped down the monsters in the heaven realm with one sword. Does it hurt? Yi Ji said indifferently. But he didn't stop. After all, the Demon Lord of the Black Abyss is a descendant of the heaven realm. The effect of the Doomsday Curse on him is very limited, and it is estimated that it may not last more than 5 seconds. But in fact, for him, who is the #1 civilian player in the entire server, even a 3-second ban on magic is definitely enough. Tisk. Yej dodged again at high speed and stabbed 2 sharp knives into the boss's belly. The big black abyss mouth on the belly suddenly let out a miserable scream. The final cut. Yi Ji narrowed his eyes. He pulled out the 2 weapons, stepped on the Black Abyss Demon Lord's chest, and reached his throat in a few quick steps. Counting the first 2 swords and the consumption of the first stage of the Dark Fireball, based on accurate calculation, the boss's health should be 32.71% left. Buzz. With a combined strike of both hands, Guangli and Yingyu spread a bright red bloom at the throat of the Black Abyss Demon Lord. The pupils of the Black Abyss Demon Lord instantly dilated. This time he didn't scream, but his body froze completely at that moment. After applying the knife, Yi Jie turned his body backwards, turned over gracefully, and landed steadily. Yi Jie's eyes were indifferent and his voice was understated. It's over. Arthur struggled to crawl out from the ruins of the collapsed dungeon. His dirty little hands were scratched by the gravel, but he still managed to crawl to the ground. Then he saw an image that he would never forget. The 5-meter-tall Black Abyss Demon Lord fell heavily under the double-edged slash of the 10-year-old boy. So awesome, Arthur said in horror. Yesh held Yingyu in his left hand and Guangli in his right hand, standing in front of the dead Black Abyss Demon Lord. The boss setting of the Black Abyss Demon Lord originally had 4 stages. In the second stage, when his health drops to 20%, he will trigger the third stage, transform into a stronger monster, and instantly recover to full health. But Yi Jie killed him with one move when he had 30% plus health remaining. He was not given a chance to transform at all, skipping the third and fourth stages. Gee, I'm so despicable. I saw the Black Abyss Demon Lord lying motionless on the ground, his body gradually dissolving. Part of the dark flesh and blood turned into misty and dissipated black air, and part of it melted into black blood. Task progress change reminder. Mission. Defeat the final boss, the Black Abyss Demon Lord, and be rewarded with 50,000 system points. You will receive a random pink quality ancient item, and have a 1% chance of obtaining a red quality ancient inheritance. Task progress. Completed. Get 50,000 system points. Randomly obtained. Ancient pink quality material, Black Abyss Cursed Bone. Yi Jie nodded with satisfaction. Although it failed to trigger the 1% red quality reward, it was still pretty good. After all, it was only 1%. If he could hit it casually, he would have to suspect that he had some strange aura. Yi Jie put away the 2 weapons. At this time, Xiao Yushi fell from the sky, her white clothes fluttering, and came to his side. The girl couldn't help but ask, How did you do it? Sister Fairy, do you want to know? Yesh smiled lightly. No, this is paid content, you can't tell others casually. Xiao Yushi was stunned for a moment, with a hint of confusion in her clear and bright eyes. Paid content. Boom, 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 boom. At this time, the earth suddenly began to tremble violently. Xiao Yushi originally thought it was an earthquake, but soon she realized that it was not an ordinary earthquake. Even the airflow in the air and the demonic energy in the secret realm began to become extremely chaotic, and the entire Black Abyss secret realm seemed to be trembling. Above the sky, there was also an abnormality in the well of Black Abyss, the entrance where Yi Jie and Xiao Yushi entered the place. The vortex of the black fog and sea of clouds has undergone strange changes. It seems to be getting smaller and smaller, as if it is gradually closing. Xiao Yuxi's eyes moved. What's going on? Yi Jie said calmly. The Black Abyss Lord is dead, so the Black Abyss secret realm will also be closed. This is a part of the plot, so of course Yi Jie understands it. Xiao Yushi heard this and said quickly, then let's leave quickly. It's too late, Yi Jie said. Those who have not entered the Well of Black Abyss and go to other areas of the secret realm should still have a chance to return to the academy through the teleportation scroll, but we are in the Well of Black Abyss and the passage to the Well of Black Abyss is closed. From now on, our contact with the outside world will be completely cut off. Xiao Yushi took out the scroll and tried it, and found that just as Yi Jie said, the runes on the scroll flickered feebly twice, then dimmed, and could no longer light up at all. What should we do? The girl pursed her lips. She didn't understand why Yi Jie could still act so calm at this time. Yi Jie said, Don't worry, it's just that you can't go through the regular passage. There are other ways out. When Xiao Yushi heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. For some reason, the girl always felt as if Yesh had been here before. Not only was she very familiar with all the rules here, she was even very familiar with the boss's weaknesses. But he is obviously only 10 years old. And he was just a student in the ordinary class. Has he really been here before? Boom. At this time, the dead demon lord of the Black Abyss suddenly turned into a corpse. Most of the Black Abyss demon lord's body had completely melted into black water, but the big mouth on his belly suddenly shot up into the sky, curled up into a ball, and fled away quickly. Xiao Yushi turned around. What is that? Yi Zhe turned around and glanced, and said calmly, the body of the Black Abyss demon lord is the thing just now. I didn't expect that he's not dead yet. Xiao Yushi paused, looked at him and asked, don't you have to chase him? Yi Zhe smiled. Of course I have to chase, but there is no need to rush to chase. ... The Black Abyss demon lord curled up into a ball and quickly rolled into the half-collapsed dungeon like a meatball, rolling into a secret underground passage. Human imp. I will definitely come back for revenge. The Black Abyss demon lord kept rolling forward. Now he has no limbs, leaving only a round ball of flesh similar to a head. However, his head does not have eyes, nose and other organs, only a big mouth full of teeth. So he can only move forward in this way. When I swallow the demon seeds and regain my demon body, I must come back. Ouch. The Black Abyss demon lord was rolling forward while using a sharp voice to express his harsh words of escape. Suddenly he felt as if he had been tripped hard by something. The whole person, oh no, the whole ball of flesh flew forward and hit the wall of the passage in front. The big mouth of Heiyuan slowly slid down from the wall, making him groan and scream in pain. At this time, he discovered that the stone walls around the passage seemed to be covered with something. The pattern of a piece of talisman paper gradually appeared on the wall, and the words on the talisman glowed with a blue light, seeming to contain some extraordinary power. Heiyuan Dazui was stunned for a moment. This passage was built by his order of foreign slaves. But he doesn't remember that there is such a charm here. Heiyuan Dazui didn't know what the blue text on the wall was. But he soon felt that this thing was definitely not a good thing for him. In a long, narrow and dark passage, more and more patterns of blue spell paper appeared on the wall. 10 pictures, 20 pictures, hundreds of pictures. Heiyuan opened his mouth wide, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Buzz. I saw hundreds of talisman papers flashing at the same time, with a buzz sound. More than 100 blue lights and shadows bloomed at the same time. These beams of light wrapped around Heiyuan's mouth like a rope lock, tying him to death. Yes, completely unable to move. What the hell is this? Black Abyss screamed sharply and struggled desperately. But now he only has a mouth and a body like a meatball. How can he break free from the shackles of more than 100 spells? Yi Zhe appeared in the passage, holding a torch and walking slowly and leisurely. Oh, I caught it. Yi Zhe took a torch and looked at it from a distance, and saw the big mouth of the Black Abyss that was tied up. Song Jia followed him, and when he saw the captured Heiyuan big mouth, his eyes widened in surprise. I go. In this place, you can actually catch a devil. Yi Zhe took a closer look and realized that this black ball of flesh actually had hands and feet. It's just that the proportions of his body are a bit out of proportion. The big mouth takes up almost 70% of the entire flesh ball, and the rest is covered with bloated wrinkled flesh, which looks quite disgusting. Yi Zhe. Surprise. Unexpected. Heiyuan big mouth was completely unable to understand and looked at him in disbelief. What trick did you use? Oh, this is a trap talisman. Yi Zhe took out a blue talisman and said lightly, it is usually used by demon hunters to capture wild monsters. Of course I know this is a trap. What Heiyuan Dazui didn't understand was, this is obviously his dungeon. How could someone place so many traps in a place like this? How could this guy know that I would escape here? Heiyuan looked at the human boy in front of him, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Could it be that this kid, not only can it move automatically, can you predict the future? Zhang Yesh took out Shadow Moon. When Heiyuan Dazui saw this black technological straight sword, he trembled in fear. Of course he knew how powerful this weapon was, and he quickly begged for mercy in fear. Wait a minute. I am willing to surrender to you. Spare me. 1. PFF'd. He hasn't finished speaking yet. Yi Zhe has already pierced the head of this meatball with a knife. Well, Heiyuan's big mouth froze for a moment, and the last remaining breath made him struggle a little, but soon he completely lost his vitality, and the wrinkled flesh like mud gradually began to melt. Yi Zhe pulled out Ying Yu neatly. I'm sorry, you are too ugly. I don't want to have such an ugly subordinate like you. It would be too embarrassing to take you out. Song Jia next to him. At this time, Yi Zhe saw a stone door at the end of this passage. There seemed to be something faintly glowing purple in the cracks of the stone door. Song Jia was curious. What is that? Yi Zhe narrowed his eyes, paused, and said, wait here. Song Jia. Oh, okay. Although he is curious, as a child who lived and grew up in the Black Wasteland, he knows that curiosity often kills people. Yi Zhe came to the stone gate. Shadow Moon waved his hand and chopped it off. With a cold light, the stone door was instantly cut in half and collapsed with a rumble. Yesh walked in and found that this was a very large underground space, at least 10 meters above the zenith. In the middle of the hall, there is a huge, dark red, oval-shaped life form, with a shell that somewhat resembles some kind of plant. There are many rhizome-like things on the surface of this crimson life form, which are connected to the surrounding walls and the soil underground, and seem to be absorbing nutrients from the soil. Yi Zhe thought to himself, could this be the demon seed in the background story of the game that can grow into the tree of the demon world? When he was in the main hall before, he seemed to have overheard the name, Devil Seed, from the conversation between the Black Abyss Demon Lord and Li Yiji. No. This thing is called a seed. Yi Zhe showed a strange expression. In the game plot, the Black Abyss Demon Lord originally escaped, but the players did not intercept him, nor did they discover the demon seed. Therefore, the legend about the demonic tree has always been in the official background story of the game, until the version before Yi Zhe traveled through and came to this world, players could not see the true face of the demon realm tree. I saw the huge dark red seed trembling slightly, just like a flesh and blood heart connected to many roots, beating gently from time to time. At this time, a transparent system task prompt box suddenly popped up in front of Yi Zhe. Hide task options. Enter the plot branch. Players, please make your choice carefully. Option 1. Burn the demon seeds with fire, and you will destroy the entire Black Abyss secret realm. In the future, the Black Abyss secret realm will be permanently closed, and all monsters in the secret realm will die instantly. At the same time, you will swallow the demon seeds and all the monsters in the entire secret realm. Magic power, and randomly obtain a red quality ancient demon inheritance, and also obtain the title of demon public enemy. You will be cursed by the ancient demons. The demons' hatred towards you will be permanently increased by 9,999, and you will encounter all demon units in the future. Will all attack you as a priority target. Option 2. Give the demon seeds to the Imperial Federation Extraordinary Persons Association. You will gain plus 500 favorability from the human races by Dao Extraordinary Persons, gain plus 1000 favorability from the public, and receive an Outstanding Citizen banner. From now on, Bai Dao's attitude towards the Yi family will be there will be a slight shift. Option 3. Inject your own essence and blood, and you will become the master of the demon seeds and the new lord of the Black Abyss secret realm. Note, this option is an important choice that will affect the plot of the entire world of 10,000 races. Players must consider it carefully. Yi Zhe was completely stunned. Surprisingly, is there any hidden plot that is not in the original game plot? Yesh slowly calmed down and looked at the options in front of him calmly and carefully. The system prompted twice in a row, need to choose carefully, indicating that this option should really have a great impact on the plot of the world. No matter which one he chooses, it may change the plot of the game in the future and create a huge butterfly effect. Yi Zhe thought, the second option is definitely not to choose, there is no need to consider this. Now, the first option and the third option. One is to destroy it, and the other is to become its master. How to choose? Yesh closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Suddenly he felt like there was some life form in the seeds calling him, and it seemed that he could establish some kind of spiritual connection with him. But it could also be a temptation from the devil. Yesh opened her bright eyes, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. But no matter what, he has already made a choice in his heart. Yi Zhe slowly walked forward and slowly raised his hand. Yi Zhe stretched out his palm and gently touched the surface of the seed, and the throbbing from the soul and spiritual power seemed to be stronger. The white blood spirit on the right shoulder seemed to feel something terrible. The kitten silently retracted into Yej's clothes at the back of the collar, with only its cat head exposed and carefully observing in secret. Calamity, you were once a messenger from the demon world. Do you know anything about this demon seed? Yi Jie suddenly asked. The red-eyed crow on the left shoulder said, legend has it that it was the last seed that survived the tree of life that grew in the demon world during the super ancient civilization before it died. Since then, it has been missing. There are many top-level seeds of the dark race. The strong men were looking for it everywhere, but they didn't expect it to be found on a small heavenly realm demon. It must have been picked up by chance through some chance. Yi Jie raised his eyebrows. Super ancient demonic civilization. Yes, that happened more than 1 billion years ago. The spirit of disaster said. The death of the demonic tree directly brought about the largest mass extinction of monsters in the demonic world. At least 98% of the demonic creatures all disappeared. All the dark races you see now are actually the descendants of the demons who survived at that time. Why did the demon world tree die at that time? Of course it was the gods who did it. They were the only beings in that era who could suppress the demons. The gods. Night Song thinking. There are gods on the top of 10,000 races. However, there is absolutely no background information describing the disaster in the game. Maybe it's just that the authorities haven't released this information. This demon seed is still in the stage of germination. The spirit of disaster said. It seems that although the Black Abyss Demon Lord has obtained this seed, he doesn't know how to activate it. Yi Jie asked. Then do you know? The spirit of disaster pondered for a moment and said, it needs to be infused with the purest blood essence of the ancient demon king's blood, but this is no longer possible in this era. More than 1 billion years have passed, and the existing dark races, even if the bloodline genes of the super ancient demon race still remain in the body, they are probably extremely weak. Before he finished speaking, Yi Jie lightly scratched his index finger with his nail, and bright red blood flowed out. Then he touched the surface of the seed with his index finger. Buzz. The black light suddenly brightened, and the entire vast underground space was filled with this dazzling black light. Disaster spirit. The entire underground space was filled with buzzing sounds. Yeji's eyes were calm, and the burning fire of life was reflected in his clear pupils. In his soul consciousness, he seemed to be able to hear heavy and vital heartbeats. Crack. A small crack appeared on the hard shell of the seed. As time went by, the cracks became larger and larger, and a hint of tender red began to emerge from the inside of the seeds. It was a newborn germ, which struggled to break through the shackles of the seed and grew toward the surrounding walls and underground. The embryo gradually grows and begins to grow roots, stems and leaves. The roots penetrate deep into the soil to absorb nutrients, and the stems and leaves extend upward. It is extremely strong. Even if it has just sprouted, its roots, stems and leaves are almost as strong as the roots of an adult banyan tree. The white-blooded spirit hid in Yeji's clothes, and the little cat raised its head and looked at this scene with horror on its face. Her previous feeling was indeed correct. Yi Jie indeed has a very pure bloodline of the ancient demon king. You have made your destiny choice. Soul connection has been established. You have become the master of the demon seeds and the new lord of the Black Abyss secret realm. Get mission reward. Random red quality ancient heritage treasure box. Unlocked permissions. You can freely mobilize all resources currently available in the Black Abyss secret area. Yi Jie didn't open the treasure box yet. He first checked the condition of the seeds. Current stage of seeds. Germination stage. Life. 10,000 10,000ths. Emergence stage. Have certain self-defense capabilities within the Black Abyss territory. Energy required to advance to the next stage, 0.001,000ths. Introduction. Seeds have self-awareness and can absorb nutrients from the surrounding soil and convert them into the energy required for advancement. They can also devour everything with energy in the world as food. Everything that has energy. Yi Jie murmured these words. After thinking for a moment, he took out a blue-quality soul stone from the item space. The rhizome of the seed seemed to sense the energy reaction and slowly and actively stretched out. However, it did not directly take away the soul stone from Night Singer, but stopped in front of Night Singer, like a cat or dog waiting for its owner to feed it. She's quite smart and knows not to ask for things that haven't been given to her. Yi Jie smiled and stretched out his palm to hand out the soul stone. The dark red rhizome slowly wrapped around the soul stone, took it away, and slowly retracted into the soil. Yesh took another look at the state of the seed. Energy required to advance to the next stage, 1/1000th. I see. Yi Zhe looked up at the seeds and smiled lightly. A girl in a white fairy dress was standing around a group of dirty slave children, using magic to treat some injured children. Yi Zhe held up his little head cutely and looked at the beautiful fairy sister in front of him. He felt that she was really beautiful. She did not eat the fireworks of the world and did not stir up the dust of the world. So much so that when Xiao Yushi stretched out his hand to her, Yi Zhe shrank his neck timidly and hesitated, not daring to put his dirty hands on the fairy sister's white and tender palms that were not stained by a trace of dirt. But Xiao Yushi smiled slightly, and in an instant she was as beautiful as 100 flowers blooming. He took the initiative to hold the girl's dirty little hand, put it in his own palm, and used his spiritual power to treat it. So amazing. Is this the magic of the immortals that the Lord said? Yi Zhe looked at his arm with a cute expression on his face, the scars on it were disappearing quickly. A drop of snot bubbles slowly emerged from the girl's nose, and was quickly sucked back by the girl. Arthur did not stay with Xiao Yushi. Although he was slightly injured when the dungeon collapsed, he was huddled alone in the corner of the ruins at the moment, his face full of fear, and his body was shaking strangely from time to time. He knew that his illness had recurred, but he was trying to suppress the throbbing in his body. He knew that the fairy sister over there was an extraordinary person. Arthur knew very well that if his illness was known to the extraordinary, he would be driven away by the adults as a monster like he was in the village before, or even killed. What those extraordinary adults hate most are monsters. Unfortunately, Arthur still couldn't control the monster inside him in the end. Following a hysterical and terrifying roar, Xiao Yuxi's attention was immediately attracted. I saw that Arthur's whole body was wrapped in a terrifying demonic energy. His right eye had become completely black, with dense blood threads spreading in it, and those blood threads gradually became clear and dense, as if a darkness was contaminated by blood ink. Evil eye syndrome. Xiao Yushi looked at Arthur, her fine eyebrows frowning slightly. This is a symptom of severe contamination by demonic energy. Most people will die when their bodies are corroded by demonic energy to a certain extent. But for some people, their bodies will be completely transformed by demonic energy, and eventually some kind of genetic mutation will occur. Mysteria is one of them. People suffering from demonic eye disease will lose all reason and humanity during the attack, become crazy, violent, bellicose, ignorant of pain, extremely aggressive and destructive, and gain powerful strength. They will become desperate, attacks a berserker for everything around me. Elder brother. When the 7-year-old Yi Zhe saw his brother suddenly going crazy, he immediately wanted to run over. Xiao Yushi stopped her. No. It's too dangerous. Roar. Arthur let out a hoarse roar like a beast, and his limbs lay on the ground like a beast. Then he made a posture of charging up, bared his teeth, and rushed towards Xiao Yushi. The children around him were so frightened that they screamed and ran away. The 5th level of the realm. Xiao Yuxi's cold eyes flashed. Thinking that after the boy's demonic eye syndrome broke out, he suddenly gained such powerful power. You must know that this child was originally just an ordinary person without extraordinary talents. Xiao Yushi quickly pushed Yi Zhe away, then threw out her white silk, wrapped around Arthur's little body, and threw him completely away. Roar. Arthur was thrown a full dozen meters away by Bai Ling, but he quickly turned over in the air and landed firmly on the ground. Arthur had a ferocious expression and bared his teeth. The terrifying evil eye was like a black hole that swallowed all things. The dark red mist of evil energy rose and fell on him. It has actually been so seriously eroded by demonic energy. Xiao Yushi secretly felt something was wrong. Arthur pounced again. Xiao Yushi used Bai Ling to deal with it. The two fought for several rounds. The girl knocked him away several times and used Bai Ling to severely injure him. But Arthur seemed to be in no pain. No matter how many times he was hit or how many times he was knocked away, he would get up again and again, keep rushing towards the target, attack, keep attacking. The attack power of the demon eye berserker still exceeded Xiao Yuxi's imagination. Xiao Yushi once again used 2 white silk ribbons to wrap around Arthur's body. But all I heard was, boom. The demonic aura around Arthur seemed like a conscious entity. The 2 white silk ribbons were torn apart easily by him. Xiao Yushi took a step back, her eyes condensed, and she could only form a magic seal with her hands, immortal magic, spiritual shock. The girl's whole body flashed with holy white light, sending Arthur flying away again, and he rolled several times on the ground. At this time, Yi Jie and Song Jia walked out of the dungeon together. All go. What the hell is this? Song Jia exclaimed. And Arthur was obviously attracted by his voice. He turned his head and looked at them, his black blood-like eyes staring at them as if they were targeting prey. Magic Eye Berserker. Yi Jie raised his eyebrows. Roar. Arthur ran towards them like a monster. Song Jia jumped up in fright and quickly ran to the side. Yi Jie still stood there, expressionlessly watching Arthur running towards him. Be careful, his attack power is comparable to that of Heaven Realm. Xiao Yushi said hurriedly. Yi Jie turned a deaf ear and just silently pulled out Guangli. Sword skills, sword picking style. Arthur swooped in very quickly. However, he himself didn't know what was going on, but he suddenly felt like the world was spinning, and then he found that he was thrown away by some kind of luck. The whole body flew more than 10 meters away and hit a stone statue with a bang sound, directly breaking the stone statue into 2 halves. Xiao Yushi was stunned. What Yi Jie used just now was probably just the most common upward sword skill, but Yi Jie put Guangli back into the scabbard. In the second stage of the demonic eye syndrome, the demonic eye has not completely transformed into a demonic eye berserker. Attacking its weak point, the demonic eye in the right eye with light attribute damage can temporarily restore it to its normal state. Fortunately, the original game guide has always been imprinted in my mind. Arthur's small body fell to the ground. This time, he did not get up continuously and continue attacking like the previous times. Instead, he lay on the ground groaning in pain. Elder brother, Yi Zi ran to Arthur's side. He has regained consciousness. Xiao Yushi approached and said hesitantly. Well, I'm awake for now. Yi Jie said, after all, it's just the second stage of the magic eye syndrome, and it can still be controlled. Do you know much about magic eye disease? Xiao Yushi asked. Magic eye syndrome can also be regarded as a disease caused by the variant of the demonized gene. As a demonized person, of course I will have some understanding of it. Yi Jie simply smiled. Xiao Yushi. That's right. The two came to Arthur. Arthur endured the pain in his body and slowly got up from the ground. He soon saw Xiao Yushi and Yi Jie walking towards him. He suddenly became nervous and his eyes were filled with fear. Are you going to kill me? Quote. Xiao Yushi was silent. Magic eye syndrome is an incurable disease. Once you are infected with magic eye syndrome, it is only a matter of time before you become a magic eye berserker. If he were taken back and handed over to the Empire Federation's Extraordinary Persons Association, he would probably be executed. Xiao Yushi didn't know what to say. She just felt that it was a bit cruel to say these words to such a young child who had just woken up from the magic eye syndrome. Yi Jie suddenly said at this time, Sister Fairy, if this child is handed over to Yuaning Palace, do you think Yuaning Palace will save him? Xiao Yushi opened her mouth slightly. Yi Jie. Actually, you should know very well that if he is handed over to any of those so-called decent forces, or even the Federal Association of Extraordinary Persons, he will not be able to survive, and there should be only one ending, execution. Xiao Yushi was silent for a moment and said softly, Demon Eye Syndrome is an incurable disease. They will continue to suffer pain until they are completely demonized. Master said that these demons should be executed before they completely lose their humanity. Transforming people is the true humanity, at least in this way, it can help them maintain the last dignity of mankind. Quote. Really, Yi Jie said quietly, I don't think it is a humane act to help others give up their lives before they give up their lives. Also, who told you that magic eye disease is incurable? Have you never thought that this is a lie? Quote. Xiao Yushi was stunned. What does this mean? Xiao Yushi wanted to ask clearly. Yi Jie said softly, Magic eye syndrome is a genetic mutation after humans are eroded by demonic energy. Even if he is rescued, his genetic mutation is irreversible. In other words, the best result is that he will become like me, a demonized genetic mutant with rationality and humanity. Those righteous people want all demonized people to die. Do you think they will use up resources to study this disease and save even one demonized person? If this is started, there will be more and more demonized people in the future. This is certainly not what some big figures in the empire want to see. Xiao Yushi hesitated for a moment. But there are indeed many cases of demonized people and harming others. I think the Empire just wants to reduce the occurrence of such tragedies. Yi Zhe glanced at her. If I had enough power, if I wanted to, I could publish a story for you every day, 365 days a year, about the disciples of Yuan Ning Palace harming people outside. And every day is different. What do you mean? Does your perception come from the truth told to you by others, or does it come from your experience and eyes? As a human on Earth in Yi Ji's previous life, he understood the power of public opinion very well. It can completely blind countless people, create strong stereotypes, and create a world of false information in people's brains. Just like in previous lives, many foreigners came to China to travel, and they were finally surprised to find out why this place was different from what they imagined. That is, what you see is what others want you to see. Of course, internal and external stereotypes also exist. Once people lose their thinking, they will soon get lost in the fantasy world that others use information to build for you. Why was it that when the founding emperor of the Qin dynasty was still alive, demonized mutants could live in harmony with ordinary people without any problems, but after the second generation, accidents happened frequently and they became public enemies? Yi Zhe calmly looked into the girl's eyes. You really never thought about it? Xiao Yushi was silent for a long time without responding, confused. The girl's eyes were a little hesitant. No one had ever said such a thing to her. She felt as if something had been unlocked deep in her heart, but soon more new doubts were entangled in her heart. Yi Zhe squatted down in front of Arthur. Hey, what's your name? Arthur raised his head and looked at Yi Zhe timidly. As an 8-year-old child, he couldn't understand a word of what Yi Zhe just said. But he knew that the Yi Zhe in front of him was an extraordinary person. And he was also a transcendent who defeated the leader of those demons. Extraordinaries are all superior. In the past, in border villages, even if a teenage extraordinary child was a child, adults had to grovel and flatter him. Arthur hesitated and did not answer. He was a little worried that he would say the wrong thing and offend the extraordinary young master in front of him. But at this moment, for some reason, the image of Yej killing the Black Abyss demon lord with 3 swords suddenly appeared in his mind. If I could be as powerful as this extraordinary young master, that would be great. That way, I will have the power to protect my sister. Arthur suddenly mustered up inexplicable courage. My name is Arthur. Arthur, Yej thought. He didn't remember this name in the game background. This child is in the second stage of Demon Eye Syndrome. He has not yet officially become a berserker, but he already possesses strength above the earth level, which is enough to show that his talent is quite outstanding. Thinking about it, it is estimated that in the original plot world line, he either turned into a demon-eyed berserker and went completely crazy, or died in the dungeon of the Black Abyss Demon Lord, or was taken back by other human adventurers and was captured by the Federation. The Extraordinary Association executed legendary figures who can leave their names in historical plots are often lucky. Those people who were originally talented, but died on the way to becoming legends due to various accidents, were buried forever in the quicksand of history, and became an inconspicuous wisp of dust in history, are the people in this war of all races. A portrayal of the fate of most people in this era. How long have you had symptoms of magic eye disease? Yi Zhe asked. Arthur recalled it and said cautiously, 2 years. Huh, Song Jia said with a weird look on his face, isn't that nonsense? I have never seen anyone who didn't go completely crazy within 3 months after developing magic eye syndrome. Usually, they don't go crazy. Within 2 weeks, consciousness will be completely eroded. What I said is true. Arthur said angrily, because I want to protect my sister. She is only 7 years old. If I become a magic eye berserker, no one will be able to take care of her. Yi Zhe raised his eyebrows. Really, that is to say, you suppress the symptoms of demonic eye syndrome forcibly, and your consciousness has not been completely eroded in 2 years. Well, Arthur regretted it again after saying it. He was a little worried that Yi Zhe would treat him as a freak. Well, prove it to me. Yi Zhe said. If you prove that you really have the perseverance to withstand the pain of being eroded by the evil eye syndrome, then I will teach you how to control the demonic fighting force in your body. Of course, yes, the premise is that you have to work hard for me in the future. Xiao Yuxi's cold face showed a look of surprise. Song Jia also said in astonishment, is it true or not? Do you know the method? Arthur was stunned for a moment, then stood up immediately, okay. But, how to prove it? Yi Zhe took out a medicine bottle. There was some kind of purple liquid inside, which shimmered under the light. After taking it, you will feel 12 levels of pain. If you don't make it, you'll die. Arthur's originally stretched out hand suddenly hesitated when he heard the words, you will die. But soon, his eyes became firm and he took the potion. You keep your word, Arthur said, raised his neck and drank the potion in the bottle in one gulp. Yi Zhe showed a faint smile. Strange, what on earth is going on? Lan Mi frowned tightly. The picture in the magic mirror was completely covered by a strange black fog, making it impossible for her to see the situation in the secret territory of the Black Abyss. There has never been such an accident before, Dai Hai said. Principal, the entrance to the Black Abyss secret realm seems to be closing soon. Is there something abnormal happening in the Black Abyss secret realm? It shouldn't be, Lan Mi said strangely. All the lords of the Black Abyss secret realm have been killed by Yi Zhe, why would they close the entrance in advance? Dai Hai said. It's possible because the Black Abyss secret realm is connected to the life force of the Black Abyss demon lord. Now that guy is dead, the secret realm will soon collapse. Lan Mi thought about it and felt that it was really possible. Okay, you notify all the students and bring them back. Yes, Earthsea immediately cast a spell and used the sound transmission technique. All students, listen, there is an unknown situation in the Black Abyss secret realm. It is suspected that it is about to collapse. The entrance to the secret realm will be closed early. All students are preparing to return to the academy immediately. Should I go? What's going on? The secret realm is about to collapse. No wonder it suddenly felt like an earthquake. Hurry up and leave, don't kill monsters, you won't be able to go back if you don't leave. Principal, we are ready, take us back quickly. The students who were exploring the secret realm of the Black Abyss were a little panicked and quickly stepped onto the teleportation beam that took them back to the academy. Dai Hai clasped his hands together, opened his eyes again, exhaled deeply, and said, Principal, we have brought back all the students except the Well of Black Abyss. Except for the Well of Black Abyss. Lan Mi raised an eyebrow. What about Yi Zhe and Xiao Yushi? I also cast teleportation beams on them, but no one has come back yet. Dai Hai said, and the Well of Black Abyss was sealed by some strange black mist power. My voice transmission I can't get in touch with them. It looks like something really happened. Lan Mi thought for a moment, tapped his finger on the table, and said, forget it, I'll personally take them back. Wait a minute, Principal. Dai Hai closed his eyes again and used his mental power to sense for a while. Then he opened his eyes and said, they are back. Xiao Yushi and Yi Zhe have also boarded the teleportation beam and will return to the academy soon. Really? Lan Mi leaned on her seat, curling her silver gray hair with her fingers, thoughtfully. These two little guys stayed in the secret realm for so long after defeating the boss. What on earth were they doing? A few days after the college assessment ended, the results were announced. Ha 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 ha. Yes. Zhang Xiaoming shouted in excitement and ecstasy in the class. His assessment score for this secret realm copy reached 61 points. This means that he has reached the passing standard for core students within the academy. Most of the classmates in the class looked envious when they saw Zhang Xiaoming's results. Entering the inner gate undoubtedly means that you will receive several times more resources and training than before. It can be said that there is a bright future. Zhang Xiaoming immediately took the transcript and ran excitedly to Yi Zhe and Gao Shenzu's seats. He wants to show off. I saw Yi Zhe sitting in the corner seat, but he looked as if he didn't care about his grades at all. A report card was casually thrown on the side of the table. Yi Zhe was leaning on the chair, holding a game console in both hands and playing a game. While opening his mouth with awe, from time to time, he accepted the fruit feeding from his deskmate Gao Shenzu. Zhang Xiaoming. Obviously I entered the inner door. But why do I feel like I have lost? Zhang Xiaoming's heart felt like a lemon, a burst of sadness, and his little fist suddenly clenched. Hateful. I really want to be fed. Classmate Yi Zhe, you are really too immature. Zhang Xiaoming muttered bitterly. You are 10 years old and you still need to be fed. You must know that we are extraordinary warriors from the Zan Zan Academy. Quote. Crack. Yi Zhe took a bite of the honeydew melon that Miyuki Mama fed, crunched and chewed it, and made a vague sound. Is something wrong? Yi Zhe has now completely given up resistance. No matter what, I can't refuse Miyuki Mama. Just lie down flat on your back. Sigh. What a shame. Zhang Xiaoming raised his chest and said very proudly, my performance in this dungeon in this assessment was the first. And I was admitted to the inner sect this year, with a score of 61. Passing class. Yi Zhe. Well, congratulations. Zhang Xiaoming frowned. Hey Yej, even if you are not selected by the inner sect this time, you don't have to give up on yourself like this, right? It's a shame that I still regard you as my lifelong rival. Yi Zhe said nothing and continued playing the game. Next to her, Gao Shenzhou was holding a small pink lunchbox and a fork in the other hand. She looked at him with gentle eyes and asked softly, would you like apple or melon next? Yi Zhe tilted his head and thought for a moment, melon. Crack. Gao Shenzhou forked a honeydew melon, handed it to Yi Ji's mouth, and opened his mouth slightly to indicate, ah. Night song. Ah. Zhang Xiaoming. Enough. No, as the extraordinary warriors of the Zan Zan Academy, the future pillars of the human race, and the backbone of the future fight against all races, don't you care about your results at all? Zhang Xiaoming looked indignant. At this time, I saw 2 report cards on the table. Hey, I want to see how many scores you got in the exam, so that you can abandon yourself like this. Zhang Xiaoming angrily picked up the 2 report cards and spread them out to take a look. Then he froze for a moment. He opened his mouth slightly and was stunned for several seconds. Then he rubbed his eyes vigorously, thinking that he had seen it wrong. Gao Shenzhou's transcript contains a lot of evaluation and analysis of professional terms, and then the last line of the transcript, marked with the copy assessment score, is 100 points. The assessment scores of the Zan Zan Academy are quite strict. Under normal circumstances, as long as you can get 60 points, it is enough to meet the passing standard of the inner door. 70 points is good, 80 points is excellent, 90 points is genius, 95 points is excellence, and 100 points is monster. That is to say, Gao Shenzhou also entered the inner gate and was rated as a monster core student by the academy. You know, even in the Zanjan Academy where the Empire's talents gather, it is difficult to have a monster-level student appear in a few years. Zhang Xiaoming was stunned for a few seconds, then looked stiffly at Yi Ji's transcript next to him. Surprisingly, there was no analysis or evaluation from the teacher on Yi Ji's report card, and no specific scores were written in the score rating column. But in the last line of his list, there are 2 very simple characters. Personally passed down, and a scrawled evaluation signature. The greatest principle in history, Lan Mi personal review. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.